How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTJPproductions.com and YouTube.com. Your favorite show hosts are still
Venurian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the week that was. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in our Discord server, which you can most easily access simply by clicking the link in the show description below this video, which will take you directly to our Discord server where you can communicate with the show hosts and other listeners to the show in real time, anytime. Alternatively, you can get there by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the show logo on any of our recent show posts, which will have the exact same effect.
Yes, indeed. So, on the stream today, I'm playing a little bit of City of Heroes, because I've looked at it, haven't properly looked at it since they first launched the servers, and apparently they've been busy little beavers with their service that's kind of acknowledged by NCSoft, but not really, but kind of, but not really.
Well, it's sort of like we are pointedly not looking in your general direction.
Yeah. Why is that? Hold on. That's being weird. I'll just fix this up. So yeah, they've done a lot of graphical things. They've got a Halloween event going on at the moment because, I mean, everybody does. But, let me see, Atlas Park. That's the right one. There we go. Okay, but what they've mostly done is worked on game stability, quality of life, and graphics. And that includes adding 64-bit textures to the game. So your character, while they're still kind of potato face, they don't look like some extremely low resolution potato face.
No, I see.
Let's see, what kind of hero should I make? I have no idea, I'm just going to randomly pick things, I think. Let's reduce some range damage. I don't like doing War Shade. Do a Corruptor. Alright, so yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'm just glad we're not on Twitch, because apparently they take a very dim view to a lot of this sort of thing.
The enforcement of all their policies is completely spotty, though.
It is. You could go months or years without ever getting a warning of it, but suddenly out of the blue they'll just drop the hammer.
Unless you're an attractive female. In which case, the hammer will never drop, ever.
Be gone, thought. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out what I want to play here. I'm going to do Sonic Attacks. I'm going to yell at things. Perfect.
Yeah, yell Australian words.
Yes. If anyone can actually understand what I'm saying, then all the more power to you. And force fields. That'll do. Something defensive.
That would be an awesome superhero. A Sonic superhero who basically cusses and strine at people.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of cool. If you go through some of these, the literature on out for superhero books at the moment, there's some very weird superhero designs, and that's not just including the Wormverse, even though they've kind of got some of the really grim and dark ideas. I think the best one I actually came across was a book that was fun, except it virtual signaled all over the place, because of course it did. And it was a hero called 2K Bitch Slap. Her power was... Yeah, her power was she could deliver a bitch slap to anybody within 2 kilometers. That was her entire power.
I see.
And it had to be a bitch slap.
Not a pimp hand.
Nope, not a backhand, not a pimp hand, not anything else. Had to be a bitch slap.
I see.
And then there's Grey Boy.
Which was Grey Boy?
The most disturbing power in the world.
Oh, right. Yeah, let's not get into that. Yeah, the powers in the Wormverse are... There's really no limit and no restriction on them as to how bad they can be.
Nope. Take everything to its logical extreme.
That includes a power that is completely self-destructive to the person who wields it. Either mentally or physically.
I do feel that he must be approaching the point of superhero fatigue, though. Because the pop culture has just been all superheroes all the time for like the past 10 years.
It really has.
Yeah.
Oh my, I'm just enjoying some of these costumes that are coming out of the random generator. This, aside from being bright green, it's power armor except with an eagle head popped on top of it for reasons. Why?
Embrace your inner Murica.
Murica. I should have actually. Hang on, I can do that. Paint it. Let's see colors. If I go, let's see, white there, blue,
Red, white,
red,
blue.
white, blue. Murica.
Now put stars all over it. And now every time you use your sonic powers, scream freedom.
Murica. Why is it gonna? It's a griffin. This is a griffin. Why? Incidentally, moving on, anime this week has been more of the same. Food Wars continues to be ridiculous. But apparently, you can make someone better at cooking just by shouting at them now.
Yes, I haven't watched this week's episode. I've been sort of finding myself approaching it in what I feel is a little bit too meta of a way, because I feel like it's suffering a bit from it's always the same participants in everything. Like it's been the same antagonists and protagonists for so long now that it's like, well, you can just predict the outcomes based on the dramatic arc rather than anything particularly interesting, which sort of irritates me. It's like, oh, this person is speaking in this way, so that means that he's going to lose, and this person is speaking in this way, which means that he's going to win. Like, it's sort of becoming dull because, well, I mean, it's got its own charm because of its over-the-topness, but it's sort of becoming dull because they're sort of almost obliged to be predictable.
Yep. Yeah, it is a shonen, so you're going to get a degree of predictability out of it, but I don't know, maybe it's just because this arc left off halfway through. We're already sick of it coming into the second half of it.
Yeah, I think that there's just that fatigue from having to deal with the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
That's really the issue.
Alright, let's see. I'm a brain in a jar. There we go.
Wait, what?
I'm a brain in a jar. That's a thing, apparently. Right, where was I? So yeah, that's been going on. I've actually fallen behind on Black Clover. I need to catch up on that. Because things were starting to take their usual shonen-y turn when I left off.
They are taking their shonen-y turn, but they are also moving at a faster clip than the average shonen does.
Yes.
So I haven't been getting bored with it.
Yeah, it doesn't let any grass grow under it, does it? So, yeah, it just hits the same tropes over and over, but you don't care because it's happened so quick.
Yeah, the story's actually progressing. The background's not really being elucidated, but it's progressing at the least.
Yeah. What else have I watched? Oh, yeah, and the only other one I really caught up on was actually, I did catch up on Hero Arca, and that's still continuing to be entertaining. The new mentor character is kind of an odd duck, I suppose. He's very standoffish, but apparently he loves humor. Except he's probably the most humorless person you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's completely deadpan.
So yeah, it continues to be good. I'm interested to see where they go now that All Might's kind of off the table as the big good now, though.
Yeah, I didn't read much further than where the anime is in the manga, but it's sort of in a position where I left off. It was sort of in a position where that was sort of the point, was that there was nobody. For various reasons, it's just like everything is up in the air as to who could possibly fill those incredibly big hammy shoes.
Mm-hmm. Deku tries, but he's nowhere near at that level yet in terms of ability, power, or ham.
He got some new shoes.
He did get new shoes. He kicks things now. All right. As for games, really no, get rid of all this. There we go. The only game I've actually played this week really has been Distant Worlds. So, on a whim, I actually heard that it was available through the Xbox subscription service. So I fumbled my way through the Microsoft Store's horrendous UI and actually found it there. So cough up $1 and I can play the game. So I've been enjoying that. I'm actually kind of impressed with their service. It's like $5 a month and you get access to whatever games are in there, but there's also a lot of crap in there, like, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It's because it's free, I could be persuaded to install it and play it for maybe half an hour. I wouldn't actually shell out money for it. But they've got Distant Worlds, they've got a bunch of other games that I probably wouldn't shell out money for, but would play. Like, I would probably try Sunset Overdrive or Crackdown 3.
But remember when Sunset Overdrive, they seemed to be convinced that was going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, and it ended up being a complete nothing.
It was a total non-entity. Most people, until you mentioned it just now, I had completely forgotten that it ever existed.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember is the launch trailer at whatever E3 it showed up at.
It is cool by committee, is what it is. It's a complete embarrassment.
Yeah, it's very hello there, fellow kids.
Hello there, I are a cool teenager, yo. And apparently, watching other reviews and things of it in the past, that's it through the entire game.
What, just cringy, over-the-hill people trying to be hip?
Yeah, like, it's trying to be, I don't know, somewhere between a mix of Deadpool and Scott Pilgrim, I guess. And it fails along all counts.
Yeah, I didn't think Scott Pilgrim was cool even when it was new, though, so...
No, I didn't really like it either.
It had an okay beat-em-up associated with it.
It did have a pretty good beat-em-up associated with it, I suppose.
That's the only thing Scott Pilgrim ever did for me.
Yeah. I'm gonna die because my UI broke. Run away. So yeah, Distant Worlds. What we were expecting was Fallout New Vegas in space, and that's pretty much what we got.
You mean Outer Worlds or Distant Worlds?
Outer Worlds. Distant Worlds is a different game again.
And this on the... Okay, you can play it through Microsoft or something, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't have to go through the Epic Game Store?
Nope. So you can buy it on the console and play it that way. You can get it through Epic Game Store. Don't. Or you can sell your soul, I suppose, to the Microsoft Store. If you can penetrate its god-awful UI. Like, it is the worst.
I had forgotten that there was a Microsoft Store, I'll admit.
Yeah. I would not buy anything full price from the Microsoft Store, but subscribing to the Xbox Game Service for that, I would. Like, it's if I stop paying the subscription of, what is it, $5 a month or something, I'm paying only $1 a month at the moment, actually, for the first month. But all those games go away. I won't be able to access them anymore unless I pay them, pay a full license on that service as well. So you've got your monthly subscription, and you can access any game in there, or you can cough up, I think it's the regular price minus 20%, and get access to it permanently.
So they rotate, or they're always available, or what's is it different to the games library that you'll build up in PS Plus?
It is. It's always available. Everything in there is always available, but because the UI is awful, there is actually no tab that says Game Pass games and just gives you a list of them. So you have to use whatever list it's decided it's going to generate for you at this time, or search for it. So I guess you could go somewhere else online and find a complete list and then just search for what you want.
You can get Halo Wars Definitive Edition.
Why?
Is that the RTS one?
Yes.
Yes.
The one that you proudly brag about being on the leaderboards for?
Yep.
Despite how shameful it is to brag about such a thing?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's awful. Don't play it.
Hollow
Actually,
Knight's
that's
on
not
there.
fair. There's a lot of people who really like it. Hollow Knight is there, and it's the complete version. In a lot of cases, the games that are actually on there are just the base version. If you want the deluxe or if you want DLC, you need to pay those separately.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Hollow Knight Void Heart Edition, even though it just says Hollow Knight.
Yeah, it's the Void Heart Edition.
Which,
So-
all of those were free content updates anyway, because Team Cherry's awesome and knows how to actually make a good video game.
Yep.
Unlike a certain other company, foreshadowing.
I'm actually trying to remember which exact company you could be referring to.
Yeah, there's way too many now.
There's way too many.
Your
The one-
foreshadowing is very poor.
The one that's in the news this week.
Yeah. For being awful.
Everyone knows that good foreshadowing has to tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly. That's how foreshadowing works, isn't it? So yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Outer
Yep.
Worlds, it's Fallout New Vegas in space. That's if you've played New Vegas, you know already what to expect, I guess. It's takes a lot of the mechanics and things that the new Fallout games have. So it's kind of your first-person exploration thing. You've got your big world to explore, stuff to find, steal everything that's not nailed down, and shoot the things. What is going on? Everything just disappeared.
What?
Yeah, the
What-
dudes
what?
I was finding just vanished.
Well, I mean, it is a pirate server.
Yeah, and now they're back. Alright, some
They're
shenanigans are going
pretending
on here,
not to know you.
I guess. So, yeah, they've refined a lot of what made Fallout 76 so good as well. So, you've got your companions, they've all got their own personalities and things, their own goals. They will inject themselves into conversations, and NPCs will actually acknowledge them. Unlike, Fallout 4, where you can have a companion interject in the conversation and nothing happens. There's just no change. Alright, this game seems to be completely broken at the moment. Right. Alright, I might have to find a new game to play on the stream, because this does not want to work. Anyway, distractions! I'm just going to run over here and stand in a phone booth. Yeah, so the whole setting for Outer Worlds is kind of this corporate overlord culture gone stupid. The system you're in is controlled by a number of corporations, all bowing to the board, which is kind of the big bads, I guess. Or the big goods, depending on which way you want to play it. So every NPC you run into is subservient in some way to the boards or rebelling against it. And a lot of what that means is when you're talking to people, they'll unconsciously drop corporate slogans and things into their conversations.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And sometimes it's
About like dynamic synergy and stuff?
No, as in the jingles and things, or
okay.
the slogans for their products, or they'll randomly plug a product to you. And they do it to each other in their emails and things like that as well.
I see. Are they conscious of this?
Sometimes. I think the ones that have been there for long enough aren't. They just do it now. But the ones who are still fairly new to this whole system are very aware of it, but they've got to do it because otherwise they'll get fired. And then fined.
I see.
Yeah, in that order. These are very, very... I broke a phone booth. Very ruthless, very money-hungry companies, and they don't give a rat's ass about the people who work for them.
Well, they're just minions, really.
Pretty much. They're expendable minions. So my current playthrough, I'm playing as just a character who can lift heavy things, but he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to do the nice run, as much as that's possible through the game. But I've also picked a low intelligence character, and the game responds to that. So
Well, everybody can immediately see that you're retarded at a glance.
not initially, although some will, but a lot of the times during conversation you will be given a dumb option, where you can say something just mind-blowingly stupid.
You mean profound and insightful.
Sometimes it comes across that way, actually. Depending on who you're talking to, but I've had entire conversation screens just collapse completely by picking the dumb option. Sometimes your companions will step in and try and keep things going, or they'll cover up for your stupidity or whatever. But yeah, you can bumble your way across the universe and be a complete and utter moron the entire way. You don't lose anything. Well, you might actually lose a few rewards or things, but it also can open up new options. Like early on, you're given there's a robot walking around you can try and fix. Now, if you have the dumb option, as well as a basic level of engineering skill, you can say, "I'm going to whack it," and that's it. It works. You thump it, it works. If you've got the first companion with them, she actually calls you out on that and saying that should not have worked.
I've seen many screenshots of the dumb route so far. It's the only thing that even looks remotely interesting about the story of that game.
The story is fine. It's one you really kind of got to dig into, though.
It's one a lot of people seem to like to project onto
Yeah.
from both sides of the aisle. I have not got a clear read on what the story is actually about from anybody because they just are projecting as hard as they can project onto it.
Yeah. From what I can tell, actually, the story is more or less what you actually can make of it. Like, you can side with the board and you can keep order in the galaxy or system, whatever, through basically towing the company line and all of that sort of stuff. Or you can go into a rebellion and try and tear them down. Or you could just, exist.
Or you can hit things.
Or you can hit things.
And be dumb.
So I'm not sure how how much that will actually branch as the ending comes up, because you've got your mad scientist who you're basically you're defrosting to, I guess. He's got multiple screws loose, but he seems to be doing the right thing. He wants to find the population of of a ghost ship, a ghost colony ship, which the board has kind of stuck out on the edge of the system to be done with it. It was actually more profitable just to leave these people frozen. So you can side with him and try and rescue the ship, but he's also wanted by the board and just about everyone else. But I have not found out exactly why yet, what he's done.
Screws loose. Guy's just crazy.
The guy is completely nuts. He's like Emmett Brown. He's that kind of crazy.
I see.
So yeah, the board is very ruthless, but they also maintain order and they do keep people fed and housed to a reasonable degree.
Didn't Emmett Brown steal plutonium?
Yes, he did. I wonder if I can see if I can fix this game while we're talking. Whoops, no, not that one. Where was I? So yeah, it's grim and it's a very crapsack kind of world, but it's also very goofy. Like you go, I think it's the second area that opens up on the first planet. You need to go into a secret lab and kind of clear out whatever's in there and recover some research documents. But you walk up to it and you're expecting, kind of a cave in the ground, where maybe some machinery around it, something like that, the secret lab being further down that. No, that's not what you get. You get a bright big building with a giant neon sign on it saying secret lab. You even walk in the front door and the guy says, "What are you doing here? This is a secret lab. Didn't you see the sign?" So, yeah, it doesn't take itself even remotely seriously. So, yeah. I'm giving it, going to just say basically, it's a big thumbs up, and this is basically what Bethesda should have been doing for the last 10 years.
So is it going to be able to fill that place in the legacy?
I believe so. In terms of the base game, it does, because it basically does everything that Fallout 4 or Fallout 76 has failed to do. Like, it's had an engaging story, it's had fun characters. I think the rinse is really going to come out as to what the modding community does with it, because that's always been the big strength of Bethesda games. It's not the actual base game itself. Like, who remembers what the actual base story of Skyrim was? Who cares?
You get Dragon
Yeah, dragons happen, apparently.
Gala, you kill.
Is it my imagination or is Ari lagging badly?
He's lagging really
I am
badly.
I'm getting spikes, yeah, that are pretty bad.
Yeah. Right, maybe if I do that. Just undo the changes that I made before. There we go. See how that works. Yeah. So we'll see what the modding community does with it. It's got plenty of space to mod and to add in new content. Like Bethesda games, you've got this massive single sprawling open world. In this case, you've got it's a massive world, but it's kind of broken up into planets and then parts of planets, districts of planets. And essentially, you just go onto your ship, you pick the one you want off the list, and away you go. So you could just add in more stuff to the list. And that's how you could add new modded areas. Yeah, this game's not working. So yeah, there's plenty of potential there. We just have to see what happens and see what comes out of it. That's really been my week, I suppose. Just that game has absorbed me. It's been a lot of fun just going around and exploring. I think we've lost Ari completely now.
No. I'm here. I'm just waiting for the spike.
Oh. Okay. So yeah, I think I'll leave my week there. Go play Outer Worlds. It's really good. Just don't buy it through Epic Store. Silence. Vol, your week, sir.
Silence. I don't have much to talk about. And the main reason for that was that I decided for a week to try and play three mobile games in parallel. That was a bad idea. It was a really bad idea, in fact. Because
waifu overload.
Yeah, I did in fact reach waifu overload. There's just waifu everywhere. It's sort of tempting to try and keep playing all of them because I rather like both Girls Frontline and Azure Lane, though for different reasons. But I'll have to cut one of them at least so that I've got any time at all. Girls Frontline will probably make the cut because it requires more busy work of you. It's the large number of systems means that there are a large number of tasks that need to be routinely completed, which is just it takes time to do all that busy work. Like I've had flashbacks to doing dailies in World of Warcraft as a result, so that seems like a good idea to drop that one. Whereas Azure Lane seems to, while it requires more focused direct playing, it doesn't seem to punish you so much for not playing it. So that will probably be the one that I keep of those two. But yeah, I've continued playing both of them though this week, in addition to trying to advance the Halloween event in FGO. In FGO, I've nearly completed the mission list in that event, and then after that, it will just be the challenge quest whenever that pops up, and the farming to clear out the shop to the whichever extent I feel necessary, which probably will involve skipping all of the pieces and monuments again, because I mean, who really wants those?
Yeah,
unless you're trying to.
You kind of reach a point where you just don't need any more, really. You've got plenty.
The thing is that you can use them to buy music in the music shop.
Ew.
For all of the songs that you've unlocked, and like a lot of the basic songs from the game that you can listen to are unlocked using pieces and monuments, because the developers know that nobody's got a use for that many of them. But yeah, I'm nearly finished that event though. Nearly finished. I don't know what the challenge quest is. Haven't seen it yet. Hopefully it's not too bad, but I'll probably just cheese it with command seals, because honestly it's just too taxing to try and devise strategies for those things with the incredibly poor set of CEs that I've got. But yeah, Azure Lane, I also haven't made much progress in it because it's very, very complicated, but in a very different way to Girls Frontline, and in some ways it's much better documented than Girls Frontline, and in other ways it's worse. Mainly that I haven't been able to find a really good beginner level explanation for the mechanics of the way the stats work. I've found partial explanations for bits and pieces here and there, but a lot of stuff seems to come down to common wisdom rather than somebody's actually bothered to explain it. I'm sure I'll track down the information I need eventually, but there are a lot of things I don't understand about, like how do you even distinguish a good boat waifu from a bad boat waifu in terms of their stats? Like, I'm not even sure. I don't know what one looks like or the other. It's bewildering to me. But yeah, it's I'm not really sure how to interpret a lot of the information that the game gives me. So yeah. It's still fun to play though, although I took a poke at the event because I'm sort of like my level of progress is sort of scratching the minimum required to participate in the current event that's running. But there's a very, very big difference in difficulty level in terms of like actual play to get through a stage in the current event that's running compared to the where I'm up to in the story, which is very, very early on, since I haven't dedicated a lot of time to it due to the aforementioned splitting my efforts across 3 different games. But yeah, they initially it looks like the game looks very bullet hell light, and it's just very, very uncomplicated. But some of the stuff that I have seen, the screen gets very cluttered. Very, very cluttered. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong. I'm not sure if I'm doing anything right. I have deliberately leaped face first into a number of obvious traps because I wanted to. Like, for instance, I picked the worst of the 3 starters simply because she was the cutest, in my opinion. I have persistently built largely around factions, even though there's no benefit to doing so for the most part, simply because I like the aesthetic of doing so. Lots of things like that. But it's like FGO, it's designed in such a way that there are very, very few boat waifus who are so trash tier that you couldn't use them to progress the story all the way to the end if you were dedicated enough to it, generally speaking. And my luck with the gacha has not been completely terrible. It's only been modestly bad. So I've gotten quite a few good ones.
Yeah, that's an improvement.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement. I'm still pulling way more garbage than the stats say that I should. But well, I'll take what I can get, to be honest. So yeah, I've built a couple of fleets that I'm managing to progress along with, albeit barely at times. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. The gameplay mechanics are interesting. They've got lots of different approaches that you can take as far as the interactions between your main fleet and your vanguard fleet, and the different abilities that each one has, and the different stats you emphasize with different guns and procs and all sorts of different things. But the thing is that, much like my initial encounter with Girls Frontline, is they hit you with all of these things up front.
Oh joy.
And it's so complicated that early on you tend to brute force things with level, right? You just grind and overcome things that way because you sort of need to. You can't really tweak anything until you've got, a good base of material to work with. So you've got to sort of brute force things initially. But the result of that is, much like in most games of this type, that you hit the wall sooner or later, where level is not actually good enough, and you've got the big ball of Christmas lights all tangled up that you need to try and unravel and work out how to actually allocate your ships, how to actually allocate your equipment, how to actually allocate your stats. But unlike in a move which turned out to be the direct opposite of Girls Frontline, in Girls Frontline, they make it look like you should build lots of echelons early on, and in fact the optimal approach is to build just one and make it as meaty as possible so that it can carry the other ones that you're trying to develop. In Azure Lane, they make it look like you should really emphasize developing one fleet because there are so many different angles along which you can develop a fleet. It's not like in Girls Frontline where they basically have a set of stats and you upgrade all those stats more or less in tandem through an upgrading gameplay loop. In the case of Azure Lane, there's a zillion different angles. Like there's retrofitting, there's enhancement, there's equipment enhancement, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I haven't even touched yet. So it looks like they go deep on individuals, but in practice, you need to actually level multiple boat waifus at once because there are certain restrictions on certain quests where you can only take ships of certain classes. Like, I can't do the first mission in hard mode of Chapter 2 because I simply don't have enough ships of the right classes to advance at all, period. So, you actually have to take a broader approach, despite the fact that it's much more burdensome to empower boat waifus individually. So, yeah, it's directly to the opposite direction of that Girls Frontline is. So, yeah, in both cases, I took the wrong approach because, yeah, obviously I'm going to. I couldn't possibly do it right the first time. It would be ridiculous. But yeah, it's fun and interesting, and I actually kind of like farming stuff in this game because the actual gameplay part is quite engaging. And it's engaging, but in number one, you can actually automate it. And there are I haven't tried it out yet, but there is an automated play option, and apparently you can build particular boat waifus and particular equipment loadouts that actually specialize in using the AI to fight effectively.
Okay.
But it's always going to be faster, and you can power through more difficult content by playing yourself. But the loadouts that are effective for that are different. For instance, the rough gist that I've gotten off of looking at it so far is that torpedoes are pretty much useless if you're letting the AI steer, because the AI doesn't have a clue when is a good time to fire torpedoes.
I was wondering that.
Torpedoes.
AI in these games tends to be a bit hit and miss.
So in that scenario, you basically, when you're playing, torpedoes are actually really, really powerful. And if you can do things like, point blank fire them so that they all hit one ship or something, that's something the AI just can't do. But if you do it, it results in a huge amount of burst damage. So it's actually a really useful technique for a human player and a useless one for the AI. So you build fleets around things like that. And if you're going to let the AI play, you'll want to build fleets that specialize in high stats, passive procs, and that type of thing. Things that you can depend on that don't require timing to deploy effectively. So yeah, there's quite a bit of depth in there as well if you want to fiddle around with it. So yeah, so boat waifus will probably get kept. Gun waifus will get put on ice until I get tired of boat waifus. But what this experiment was all about, ultimately for me, was to determine what the difference was between FGO and other games that are similar, other gacha games that are similar. And it really does all come down to writing. There's pretty much no character of note to any of the gun waifus or boat waifus. I know that, that sort of stuff develops as you go through the story and so on and so forth, but it's much more sparse than what you get in FGO. Very much more sparse. I've done about 2.5 chapters of both of those, and you really don't have any good feel for any of the participants in the story as being real characters. They're just an archetype of some kind, a standard anime template is pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
Or if you're really unlucky, like M4A1 and Girls Frontline, you have the cardboard cutout personality, and there doesn't actually appear to be one in there. But yeah, the it's not like an FGO where all of the characters that get any story time have a very vivid personality. They are often quite simple, but they are very detailed within the boundaries that they're drawn up in. So, even like a 3-star like my unsolicited waifu Kiyohime, she's got quite a bit of screen time over the course of multiple events, and you've got a very, very clear picture of what that lunatic is like.
Yeah. Like, even the characters that don't get a whole lot of screen time, at least they have a consistent personality between appearances.
Yeah, but you get and they've got a lot of running jokes and ongoing stuff like this, and I know that games tend to build up these mythoses over time, so maybe I would feel differently if I played Azure Lane at huge length and say, oh well, over the course of these events I've gotten to see these characters' personalities, but it really they don't really hint at them very much even early on, as it even being that there's a potential for depth there, and to a certain extent that's a product of the concept, right? Because in Girls Frontline, the gun waifus, they're all advanced AI, basically advanced AI gynoids for combat. So they don't really have a huge personality of their own except what is prescribed by their programming. Though that varies a bit. Like there's a fan favorite, one of them. I think it's one of the assault rifle gun waifus. Which one? MDR, I think. And she's canonically a shitposter. Like she spends all of her free time shitposting on the forums of the private military corp that you work for, and just basically being a troll. And as a result, in all of her costumes, she's still holding her phone, so she doesn't ever have to stop shitposting. So they've got those sort of like informed personality traits, and you do see them play out. Like in one of the events in Girls Frontline that I participated in, a lot of what happens because she's busy rumor mongering on the forums, and so things get blown way out of proportion. But and actually launches the entire base into hysteria. But the personalities are not quite so fleshed out. Like, I mean, there are characters. There are times where the FGO characters are used for one-note gags. Like Kiyohime is often the victim of the one-note gag. The same with Serenity. But generally speaking, there's more to them than that, and I haven't seen that for any of the characters here. Like they will have like sort of, this one is the tsundere one, this one is the very innocent one, this one is the shy one, this one is the one that's obsessed with eating. Like that's about as far as it goes.
But are they the architectural equivalent of stacking sushi and ice cream on a burger and topping it with hot sauce?
What? Why?
I'm quoting Da Vinci here.
Oh.
As I flick through the FGO event while you talk about mobile games.
Yeah, see, that sort of thing I haven't really seen very much of. Like, I did a bit of a mini Halloween event in Azure Lane, and you don't really get a clear image of what the cast are like. And I think that part of that is that the cast that they launch with is enormous, much bigger than FGO's, and it only grows over time. So yeah, I think
yeah. I think their Easter event was like literally Monopoly.
I see.
Just
like
Monopoly.
You played single player Monopoly.
Right, that's probably the best part of Monopoly. Actually,
that might be why I quit playing. I can't remember. It was that bad.
Wow.
Yeah, but so the only news of note on that particular game, I guess, is one that Ari linked to me about them removing a particularly salacious piece of art that had been voted as one of the winners of a competition for the new loading screens. That bewildered me. It very much did, and the reason it bewildered me is that it's only barely more salacious than the art that's still in there. But given some of the art and the fact that most of the art for the smaller destroyers and the submarines would get you arrested,
Yes.
There doesn't seem to be any special reason to remove that particular piece of art that they removed. And the commentary that it makes it inconvenient to play the game in public places. No, there's no way I'd play that game in a public place to begin with. That's way too dangerous. You will get reported to the police.
Especially in your country.
Like, seriously, just don't do it. Don't. I mean, it's not a problem in some parts of the game where you don't see the characters much because it uses the style of the super deformed sprites in combat, which is a lot safer since it doesn't matter what body type the boat waifu in question has; they all still look the same.
This artwork, however, would get you arrested for something else. I'm pretty sure called indecent exposure,
among other things.
Yeah. Where I was actually directly taken aback and, checked over my shoulder for the FBI sort of thing when the character of the submarine Albacore appeared in one of the events. I'm not going to put that in our Discord channel. You can look it up on your own time. But probably in incognito mode and probably through a VPN.
Yeah, not at
just
work.
in case. Yeah, not at work. Definitely not at work. But yeah, so for some reason they felt the need to remove a piece of art based on it being salacious, even though it was a salacious piece of art for individuals with body types suggesting that they were definitely of legal age. However, Ari linked me a thing indicating that it was deliberately intended to provoke that particular piece of art. However, I think that while he was a success, either he is an absolute genius or he got lucky, because there's nothing about that art that suggests to me that one should be banned. He must have his finger exactly on the pulse of what people are willing to tolerate and what people are not willing to tolerate, because I couldn't see how it was much different to a lot of the other art that's still in there.
Maybe, I don't know. There's just too much water balloonage going on with the physics.
I mean, it could be. The physics are definitely wrong. Like, it's like, a curious puppy who's hopping up on his back feet to inspect something. That's what those boobs look like. Like, they're not obeying the laws of gravity at all.
Like,
they're doing their own thing entirely.
The only water balloon in motion and if natural. They do not water balloon in a standing position. I hate to break this to y'all.
But yeah, at any rate, so that happened. That was a thing, but that doesn't stop you still getting an eye full of boobage every time you go through a loading screen. So there are some entirely safe pieces of art in there, but there are just as many that are not. So
I am going to post what you told me to search in the live show chat as a link to the wiki page. I'm not posting the image.
Yeah, yeah. But you went there though, right? So you know what I'm talking about, right? You understand what I'm trying to say. I
have put a custom FBI tag on that particular live show chat post.
But you see what I'm saying, right? About how that's dangerous.
It's a lack of seeing something that in fact makes it dangerous, but yes.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, if you were going to remove art, I would remove that way ahead of the one that they did remove. Like, just redraw that character. It's not safe. You will be arrested.
Wow.
Yeah, I need an adult. But, yeah. Anyway. I
tried to find cute Ellen pictures for Arnie and make a 9 and an adult meme. No, don't do that. Don't go Google and search that.
No, don't
never
do that.
search for Ellen pictures ever. Just don't. There are certain things that no man is meant to see.
And out of jail, at least.
I'm very glad I had safe search on.
Jail is just a room, man. But
it's a room you can never leave.
Yeah, that was a thing. I'm probably going to be scarred for life by some of the things that I see in this game. But yeah, when the art is good, it is very good. It's very much better than the Gun Waifu game in a lot of respects. Largely due to consistency, I think. the art is wildly inconsistent in Girls Frontline compared to Azure Lane. Azure Lane's much more cohesive. Clearly, the art directors were giving a lot more direction to the artists that they commissioned to do the characters. They just make more sense in general. Design is a little bit inconsistent, but the style is very consistent. And the design thing, I mean, that's just a matter of variation, and that's as beneficial as detrimental, if not more so. So, yeah, I don't consider that to be a negative in that sense. But yeah, so I'm probably going to progress that one, and I'll probably do it in an unwise fashion, much in the way that I did in FGO, so that, you know, I'll do whatever the equivalent is of raising a suboptimal Berserker 3-star all the way to level 90, only in this game. So yeah. Although I've got some ships that are regarded as objectively bad but terrible, in that they're good enough to appear on the tier list, but they don't appear very high. I've got a lot of ships like that I like that I'm going to continue to use. Like I've got both the HMS Queen Elizabeth and the HMS Warspite in my backline of my main fleet, and they seem to work really well together. Since Queen Elizabeth buffs all of the Royal Navy ships, and Warspite seems to... Well, Warspite's got a ridiculous firepower stat. Rest of her stats, not very good. Firepower stat, through the roof. On the off chance she hits something, it just dies. Like, in a blaze of glory, it disintegrates. On the off chance that she hits something. So, yeah, I need to find some accuracy gear or something. But yeah, I've also got, I pulled very early on a very good Imperial Japanese Navy carrier, Shokaku, who I think is also voiced by Kiyohime's voice actor. She's top tier waifu though, so that's all right. But in order to stay on theme, she'll have to be swapped out for another battleship or carrier when I decide what I want. Ari's fortunate enough to have HMS Hood. I'd kind of like her to fill that spot as well, since I like using battleships more than I like using carriers, because I hate doing the math involved in deciding whether planes are good or not. There's a lot of math, like a humongous amount of math. If you just like playing with numbers and theory crafting, this game is insanely incredible. Oh, but yeah. What else? Anime. I didn't get to watch much yesterday. But I feel like Fire Force is doing pretty well. It's managing to keep my interest. I'd say that in terms of the way it's constructed, it's a slightly ritzier version of Black Clover, in the sense that it's got the same sort of shonen-ness to it, but the same sort of, well, we know that it's a shonen, but we've got to keep the pace up in order to keep people interested. I'd say that it's a similar sort of tone in a lot of ways. No, that's not really the right word. I feel a similar sort of vibe from it that I do from the very, very good Demon Slayer. I don't think it's quite as good as Demon Slayer for a variety of reasons, but it's much like Demon Slayer has a very clear idea of what it wants to be and how to get there. So overall, the show, I feel, comes together quite well. You can very strongly see its roots in the same author as Soul Eater.
Oh yeah,
except it's much more polished. Like, he's clearly improved both his writing and character design style since then. You can still see the same attributes there, but it's much more polished. Yeah. What else? I actually watched another isekai. I don't know if I talked about on the show, and I'm desperately trying to remember what it's called, because
they kind of blur together eventually, don't they?
Yeah, they all have unique names. Every isekai has a unique name, largely because they're incredibly long. It's in Japanese, it's Watashi no Ryoku wa Haikichi de te ita yone, or something like that. At any rate, the gist of the name in English is something about wanting average stats.
Oh yes.
So
hang on, I'll look it up. I remember it. I just gotta find it again.
Yeah, I aside from my normal mangling of the Japanese, I couldn't actually read it because my left eye's still blurry, so I guessed some of the syllables. But I have watched a couple of episodes of that, and I reasonably enjoyed it. It's very, very similar to every other isekai, of course. It's a female lead this time. The gist basically being that in her original life, she was an overachiever. Like, she was gorgeously beautiful. She got perfect grades, brilliant sports player type of thing, just good at everything. And as such, she became very, very socially isolated, and she was too shy to overcome that social isolation. Mm-hmm. And so she said when she absolutely lampshades that she got isekai'd by the isekai truck.
Truck-kun?
Yeah, she got isekai'd by Truck-kun. I think this is the one that she got isekai'd by Truck-kun. I'm trying to keep all the different isekai straight in my head, and I'm having difficulty. But she
a lot of people.
Yeah. But she meets the god figure in the between world, and when he asks, what ridiculous OP feature she wants to move on to her isekai life, she says, no, I want to be exactly average for that world. I want to be exactly average for the world which I'm going to live in, because that way I'll be able to make friends at long last, because I won't stand out. So she gets to this world, and you find out in media res, basically. You see her going about her life. She's about to start, she's going to what is basically an adventurer school sort of thing to get her qualification to do taking quests and stuff like you do in an isekai. Except as you watch her go about her day, it becomes abundantly clear that she's not average at all, or at least she doesn't seem to be. It turns out that the god gave her exactly what she wanted, and she is average. But the god decided to calculate average by putting her exactly between the most powerful inhabitant in the world and the weakest. And it just turns out that this world has in it one elder dragon who is just this completely different paradigm of being altogether in terms of power.
Of course it does.
So her getting placed exactly in the middle between the strongest and the weakest actually makes her super exceptional amongst human beings.
What is the weakest by reference?
I don't think that they said, but it would be whatever's the weakest creature, so it'd be like a cockroach or something, It'd be some tiny creature. So ant.
Something worthless.
Yeah, but the idea is that the ceiling on power in this world is elevated so high above the lowest that it pulls the average way up. And so this is basically her quest to try and... She spends a long time trying to cover it up and give unconvincing lies about how she's managed to do all of these spectacular feats she keeps accidentally doing. But it comes out eventually, and she manages to make friends with a group of fellow students and helps them out to learn some of the tricks that she's picked up through having OP stats and so on and so forth. And it looks like it's going to go on to the standard isekai track where you've got a main character who gets to blow everything out of the water. Except that in this case, it's the source of her power is what makes her insecure. So that's sort of a novel take on it. And since it's essentially a cute girls doing isekai things anime, it's more watchable than seeing another Kirito do it. So
yeah, that gets old really quick.
Yeah. But I'm willing to forgive cute girls doing a lot of things, like any good male. So
the anime is actually called in English, Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life?
Which basically tells you the premise of the show quite succinctly.
Yes.
But, yeah. I enjoyed it. I'll probably watch more of it because it's a very easy watch. Like, it's definitely, not good for you junk food.
Yeah.
But, it's quite watchable. So I'll probably go on watching that. I don't think that any of the other series that I'm currently following have actually screwed the pooch, nor have any of them dramatically improved. They're more or less keeping things keeping the car in the road. If they were bad, they're still about the same level of bad. If they were good, they're still about the same level of good.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've seen any wildly swerving off the path. But honestly, I haven't been setting myself a very high goal here. I've mainly been watching like low tier trash because watching something like Psycho Pass is too taxing for me at the end of a long day.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, instead of if I'm tired and worn out, I'd rather sit down and watch Kimono Michi and watch this poor vampire girl become the absolute chew toy of the universe. Also, people getting suplexed for friendship. Like that.
Yeah, the suplex is a very flexible move, apparently.
Apparently, but that show started as intended to go on.
Yeah. Yeah, so the worst one that I'm currently watching is probably Phantasy Star Online 2, which
you haven't ditched that one yet.
Phantasy Star just cannot win with anime.
No.
Like, every time they make one, it's just deeply, deeply awful. And this one is deeply, deeply awful. Like, this is... No, I actually, that's not really fair. It's not awful in the same way that PSO2, the animation, was.
Yeah, that was just...
PSO2, the animation, was horrible, like, in every respect, from the core fundamental concept all the way through to the final execution and denouement. Like, this one is one perfectly generic anime.
Yeah.
Perfectly generic. Pure grey paste. It doesn't commit any radical gaffes in any particular direction. It's just entirely 110% uber bland. It's possibly the blandest thing that I've ever seen.
Ugh.
Like, that's about the highest point at which it excels is the fact that it has managed to maintain a perfectly still position without ever managing to accomplish anything.
All of the bland.
It's the most bland show. That's the award that it wins, is number one bland show.
That's like the worst award.
That is
That's
the worst award.
Like, at least if you're bad, people will talk about you.
And they'll remember you if you're really bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's why I remember the old PSO2, right? I remember a lot about it because it was so awful.
Yeah.
But this one, I don't envisage myself remembering anything about it other than that it was boring.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the long and short of that one. Ugh. It's just, oh my goodness, that's bad. It's not what I want.
Just bad.
Not what I want. Yeah. I'm not sure that I actually punted on any of the other ones yet this season, mainly due to lack of time. So one can only watch so many anime and hold down a job.
And
let's be real.
So many waifus.
Yeah, the waifus definitely get in the way.
Yes.
I have managed to find an Ellen picture that we can use for I Need an Adult that somehow makes them look like they're teenagers instead of little children.
That's a minor improvement.
But
this still sounds dangerous to me.
It does. It really does.
It's like, Ellen, but they look legal. Like, no.
Legal.
You're just making it worse. Semi-legal.
Just makes us need an adult more. It's in the live show chat. Also, while we're talking about suplexes, I'm reminding people of the best suplex from Nichijou. You can find it there.
I see.
Since I'm lagging so hard, I can't actually comment. I have to comment tertiarily.
Why are you lagging so badly?
I've been trying to figure that out. I'm fixing it.
Incidentally, have you watched any of the Azur Lane boat waifu anime?
Yes, I have watched it, and it's not good.
It's trying to exist on the just on its waifu power alone.
I'm thinking about how I'm going to explain this because I've got I've got a sort of like an ankle deep engagement with the property from both angles. So I've seen a little tiny bit of Azur Lane the anime, and I've seen a little tiny bit of Azur Lane the game. And independently, their stories are both unbelievably lackluster.
Yeah,
when taken at the same time, I feel like there's most of an actual product there. Because the story as told by Azur Lane the game is very hard to follow in a lot of ways. It's just not... It doesn't make a lot of sense. I would have no idea what was happening were I not also watching the anime. Because watching the anime fills in an awful lot of little bits and pieces that make the story coherent.
That's never a good thing.
So in the game, all I know, and actually in the game, it does accomplish something. It's something different. What it accomplishes is it gives you a point of view, which is very much restricted to the Azur Lane, the faction, because there are at the start of the story. I don't know, or I don't even suspect that it will continue this way. But at the start of the story, the naval forces left in the world are divided roughly into two distinct factions. One of which is the Azur Lane, and the other one is the I can't remember what they're called actually, but it's an alliance between the Sakura Empire and the Iron Blood, and they are, there's a clear bifurcation there. But that's all that you know in the game, is that, Iron Blood and Sakura Empire have gone to war against Azur Lane despite previously being members of Azur Lane. And so all you do is you basically, you shoot at them and you don't have a clue why you're doing it. So in that sense, the game gives you the point of view from Azur Lane's point of view, who you ostensibly are.
Mm-hmm.
In that you don't actually know why you're fighting the opponents. You have no clue what they're doing. And I don't know how the game will reveal over time what's actually going on, because I haven't played far enough. In the anime, you get to see from both sides, like the camera is not always following Azur Lane around. Sometimes it will switch over to the perspective of the Sakura Empire. It still favours the Azur Lane point of view in that they don't out immediately everything the Sakura Empire are up to. But you see more of what they are doing and what they are like as people to basically make the story more coherent, so that you don't end up spending, 3 chapters just vaguely fighting and not knowing why.
Yep.
So they do actually play off each other a bit. But, in both cases, it's more or less about cheesecake, ultimately. Well, why wouldn't it be? It's a waifu game. Like, the anime is, of course, about cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how it is. It's not good or bad in the sense that I don't feel like it's intended to be good or bad. I feel like it's intended to be Azur Lane for fans of the game. Much in the way the Babylonia anime is directly aimed at fans of the FGO mobile game, because you won't understand where the story is going without it. In a similar way, while those characters could in fact stand on their own in their own anime, you still need the game to understand it. In the case of Azur Lane, it's like you need to have pre-existing affection for the members of the cast in order to really appreciate it, and you can tell that that's the way they're going because it's structured similarly in a lot of ways to the Kantai Collection anime, in that they just completely barrage you with characters. So you can see very clearly the two different approaches. If you look at the Azur Lane anime and you look at the FGO anime, they dramatically prune back the characters that you need to know to the absolute minimum. You don't need to know anything about any of the previous characters you may have encountered in the course of the story, because the story is about, Ritsuka and Mash going on an adventure in ancient Mesopotamia. And the people that they meet there, they will mostly be new people. Like, for instance, very early on, they meet Medusa. Well, they meet Anna, who is the name by which the younger version of Medusa is going. And there's absolutely no reason why you should be expected to know about Medusa. So that story works on its own, aside from the fact that you don't know the general gist of it without playing the game. In the case of Azur Lane, it's all about showing off as many characters in motion as possible. It's about presenting the product that already exists in a different medium. So it's a different approach entirely. because I don't think that the Azure Lane story is particularly interesting in a lot of ways.
It is boats,
But,
waifus. That's your story.
Yeah. Like, I was amused to see that the popular community tier list for Azure Lane is called Your Waifu is Ship.
Yep.
I found that entertaining for some reason. Anyway, I haven't made any progress on Monster Hunter World Iceborne because I've been pushing the waifu numbers up pretty much. I'll probably get back into that. I'll probably play a little bit here and there, but I'll really get back into it when the first patch hits and they decide what they actually want to do with the guiding lands. Because Finn and I went in there for a while, and we absolutely bullied the crap out of a lot of low-tier monsters, but I wasn't sure if we were actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, we got some materials at the end, but we didn't get nearly as many materials as we would if we just went out and hunted the monsters normally.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we got humongous numbers of one specific material from each monster.
Yeah, the low-tier worthless material.
No, you see, it's not low-tier worthless material. They're all Guiding Lands exclusive materials.
Oh.
You can't get those from hunting. You can't get those from hunting a Pookie in the regular zones or whatever. But in the end, it was still, Radoban, Gyros, Pookie, Kulu Yaku. Pookie several times because Pookie wouldn't leave us alone. Like we keep beating the crap out of these guys, and it was straight up bullying a lot of the time, to be quite blunt. And I'm not sure that we were getting anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was because we were doing something wrong or because we were doing something right and getting anywhere just takes a long time, or I really don't understand how the Guiding Lands works. So, considering they're planning to revamp it, I don't really want to invest myself too much in it just yet.
Yeah, have to sink some time into clearing out the optional quests, though, at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of optional quests I've still got to do.
Yeah.
So that'll be my focus when I go back in there rather than Guiding Lands, because I just don't know what I'm doing. Like, I can kill all the Pookies you want, but there doesn't seem to be much of a reward for it, so I'm not sure that's actually worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is worth doing. Like, I don't know what happens as you hunt monsters and you rank up the zones and the Guiding Lands. I don't know if they all rank up together or if there's a push and pull between them. There's a lot of things I don't understand about how it works, so maybe I have to look up a video on YouTube or something to explain it, because I don't get it.
Yeah, I think so. But
anyway,
it's probably all going to become irrelevant soon anyway, so, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know which parts they're planning to revamp, which parts will get left the same. Oh, well.
Guiding Land seems to have forgot to ask the deep philosophical question of, but why do you hunt the Pookie?
Because he's there, and he's a jerk.
Because he looks goofy and he poisoned me, and I have to get my terrible revenge.
Yes. So we just go and beat him up for giggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowhere near where y'all are. I'm still after Velkhana.
I always have like 50 Pookie tails hanging up above my fireplace at this point. But, yeah. Okay. Final Fantasy 14. Haven't played much of that either. However, 5.1 dropped.
Yeah. And it dropped.
And boy. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a list of patch notes that long, even for like entire expansions. My goodness me! But some of the things they've done are really excellent quality of life. Like a lot of the stuff for the crafting system, they've pruned a huge number of abilities that nobody uses because they're strictly inferior to other ones.
Mm-hmm.
They have genericized a lot of mandatory cross-class skills so that you don't actually need to level every class in tandem to be at all effective. Which was a huge bugbear with the previous system. Like, if you just wanted to craft a few different things, you couldn't.
Yeah,
it was not practical.
Crafting as a whole kind of got a massive strip out.
Yeah,
it was a mess.
Yeah, so they've gutted it. I haven't had a tinker with it yet. In fact, they've shifted the stats around so much. I'll probably wait for somebody to write a guide and then just relearn how to craft from scratch.
Probably the best way to do it.
Numbers across all the classes have been tweaked, some in big ways, some in small ways. It looks like a lot of defensive cooldowns have been lengthened.
Mm-hmm.
And Ninja was basically overhauled.
Ninja was a right mess at the start of this expansion. I tried it, and even though I'd kind of forgotten what I had to be doing, it just didn't feel right. It felt completely wrong. It's hard to
Yeah, I haven't.
quantify exactly how, but yeah.
I only have ninja at like level 30 or something.
Yeah.
30, 32 to be precise. I've only got ninja at level 32, so I don't have a good way of testing it out. But it can't be worse than it currently is.
No. A lot of classes just got a straight up buff, like things like Machinist. I believe Dancer got a straight up buff, and Paladin as well, if I'm remembering correctly.
The Paladins had some cooldowns lengthened. So I mean, the cooldowns, that is to say, the skills were made more powerful by a matter of their duration.
Yeah.
And that was the case for a lot of things. Red Mage got one of its core cooldowns revamped so that it's now it now goes off 3 times, but it has a longer cooldown, which is good because I got sick of hitting that damn button. I kept forgetting it and letting it drop off because you had to hit it all the damn time. Now you only need to hit it roughly once a minute to get the benefit. Lots of numbers have been rejiggered. Numbers on Samurai have been radically rejiggered to, and I think in a good way. It's very marginally adjusted the skill ceiling for Samurai so that you don't get 90% of the performance out of your basic combo anymore. The changes to Dragoon have been few. However, they are changes that, if you know how Dragoon works, but I'm basing this on knowledge from 2 expansions ago, though. If you know how Dragoon works, they are changes that adjust what you are able to do fairly significantly, because Dragoon is all about managing timers and rotations.
Yes.
And if they lengthen the duration of something, that can dramatically affect what you can fit in during that timer. So, yeah. And I think what they did was they dramatically reduced the cooldown on Blood of the Dragon or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I looked at the patch notes in brief because there were so many of them. They added an excellent recipe tree system for crafting.
Yes, that's a great addition.
So if you look up a recipe, let's just pick one at random here. Hallowed chestnut crafting a hallowed chestnut fishing rod. It breaks it down into all of its components and how you make those components. So hallowed chestnut fishing rod is comprised of hallowed chestnut lumber, a dark chestnut branch, and a hard silver ingot. So if I look at the hallowed chestnut lumber on the table, it then breaks that up into the hallowed water and the chestnut lumber, and it breaks the hallowed chestnut lumber up into logs and the water into Abelathian spring water and mistletoe. And if you look at the ingot, it does the same thing, breaks it up into hard silver ore and hard silver nugget, and it breaks up the nugget into hard silver sand and silver ore. So it gives you a visual breakdown of how to compose each of the ingredients that you need. And all of those are live links so that you can search for items and search for them by gathering method, and it gives a list showing how many of these do you currently have in your inventory, that type of thing. So it's a very, very handy crafting tool.
Saves a lot of the faffing around and researching and management you have to do before. Yeah.
Yeah, they've also implemented a fellowship system, which is basically it's sort of like a very paired back guild system that operates cross server. So basically it's a formalization of the statics system that people had typically used in the past.
Yeah. So that's going
that's
going to be very well received.
Yeah, there's a huge number of changes. I'm not even going to try and scratch the surface of them, but there's also the implementation of the New Game Plus, so you can redo the story modes.
Yes.
So I haven't had a chance to dabble in that yet, but I probably will, because I don't remember a lot of the ways the stories go.
There are some really cool quests in the past as well.
Yeah, I don't know quite how they've organised it, so I'll have to. Reading the description really didn't help either, so I'll have to take a poke at it when I've got some time.
Yeah. And, of course, the big headline feature for this patch is the new section of the story, as well as the Nier Automata crossover event story thing. Dungeon.
Yeah. I don't know enough about Nier Automata to give any real opinion on that.
It has very sad robots.
Well, they're not sad until the very end when everything starts to go pear-shaped.
They're pretty sad.
No, they're just kind of robots. They're military robots.
No, not those robots. The other robots. The little trash can
right.
robots.
Oh, those robots are.
They're sad.
Well, they're not even sad. They're just robots.
Yeah.
They don't really have the trash cans don't have emotions
Except when they do.
yet. They get them later.
Yeah.
They have wheel bucket excavators named Ingalls.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
For some
Engels
reason.
is the whole Goliath robot.
Right.
His arm is also called Ingalls, and that is a separate mob in the game.
Yeah.
I see. At any rate,
It's
I had a
Taro
look.
game.
Yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree if you think you can explain it in any practical, manageable sense. But yeah, I had a look at one of the fights by way of looking at what the music was, because that's how I normally look at those fights, since
Yes.
I usually don't get around to seeing them. But yeah, 9S is manlet, and he tries to kill you with tanks, I guess.
I guess.
And his flight unit.
I don't know if these are all things that people should recognize from Nier Automata or what. So
Yeah, you should recognize everything except for the actual tank he rides on during that boss fight.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know about Nier Automata, so a lot of it will be lost on me. Hopefully, the story stands up on its own without needing too much backstory. But it's Yoko Taro, so I wouldn't bet on it.
I'm not even sure the backstory will help you.
It probably won't,
It probably
to be
won't.
quite honest. But yeah, it looks like the aesthetic has been transferred over relatively well, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it looks pretty true to the original.
I haven't played the original, so I don't know.
So, yeah, it could be a very fun event. I'm actually
Although
still waiting on a rerun of that Monster Hunter World crossover, though. I want my rideable Rathian, damn it. Rathalos.
Well, this isn't a crossover event. This is like a major story thread for the entire expansion.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, this is the LFR raid for the expansion. And while it's LFR tends to be a little bit harder in Final Fantasy than it typically is in World of Warcraft, and you can't actually sleep through it.
Yeah, you can actually die in the FFF Final Fantasy LFR raid.
Yeah.
Man,
well,
I don't even have 10,000 HP yet, and the people in this 9S video got, like, the DPS have 76k.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah, number inflation happens in every MMO with enough expansions. But yeah, I'll leave my week there because I don't really know much about it. I haven't had a good chance to plumb the depths of 5.1 yet.
Alright, we're actually well overdue for a break, so we should do that.
We are, and we'll be right back after some music. And we back.
He is back.
Oh,
Alright. So pick up where we left off. I think Vor was pretty much done with his week, weren't you?
Yep, I'm pretty much done.
Pretty much.
Okay. So I punched my router somewhere in the middle of Vol's week. So hopefully it's working now.
Hopefully.
So my week. Most of the week was spent working, but around Wednesday, I got talked into trying out Trails of Cold Steel
Okay.
by Abo. And so I spent what free time I do have mostly plugging through that. It's a JRPG. And I was warned at the start that the first game is the tropiest thing of all time. That was a very correct warning for the start of that game.
Oh dear.
Well, I mean, they were JRPGs made to be JRPGs because very few people seem to be interested in following the classic formula anymore.
Yeah, so it's nothing that's going to turn anybody off if you're going into this looking for a JRPG, but it just was so on the nose it was facepalm worthy. And the game even lampshades it. Like, your drunk teacher opens a pit and you all fall into it for your orientation. And you have to escape a dungeon. And as you're falling, of course, you, the protag, falls. And the canon waifu girl falls boob first into your face.
Of course. Did you have
There's no other way to fall. What are you talking about?
And as she is oblivious that she is currently smothering you in marshmallows, the protag just has his hands straight up in the air as he's laying on his back. And it shows his inner monologue, and it just goes, "Make sure my hands are where everybody can see them." And
this is wise.
And of course, she gets up and she's all angry and huffy and she slaps you. And everybody's just kind of looking at her like, "You didn't do anything."
But she's got a role to fulfill.
Yeah, everybody just kind of rolls with it. Nobody reprimands her. Just like, yep, that's a job she has to do.
You fell out of the sky, you landed together, a slap has to take place, there's basically no way out.
Yeah.
And so, for the first month of the game, so the game has a date, takes place in dates of their calendar, and I've gone through about a month of the game, but you don't play every day of that month. You only play like 2 or 3 days out of the month. And so it takes a full month for her to get over herself and apologize to you for being a total jerk the whole time. And your poor protag is so whipped already that he just tries to apologize at the same time.
So what you're saying is he's a male anime protagonist.
Yeah, he just
like
so pretty much
perfectly generic.
From what I can tell, he's got some super secret dark power he doesn't want to reveal to everybody else as well, on top of everything else. Like, this guy is one stock standard unit anime protag.
Oh, he's a Nagito? No? Never mind then.
No. Not sure where you're going with that.
Yeah, no, Nagito. I'm getting my names mixed up now.
Wow, I'm having a huge deja vu moment right now.
Yeah. Yay, brain farts.
Yeah, I think you meant Naruto. But
also yes,
no.
but yeah.
But no, he's a relatively chill protag. He's making his way around the school. And the most significant event so far has been the biker lesbian woman in leather that rides around and steals all your waifus.
What?
This is a thing that happens. And the protag is not too happy about this.
Why? Because he wants to build his harem?
Yes, he does. Apparently, although he won't admit it to himself. That's why he is angry at her. So, it's been an interesting game. One quirk I do like about the Trails series in general is they plan for every contingency, which is why these games have tomes worth of potential text. Like, if you talk to some guards that are guarding the entrance to a park before you have a mission to go there, there will be lines of dialogue mentioning, "Oh, weren't there guards here before?" When your party finally gets up there, even though you would have no reason to go up there until you got the mission, if you just went up there exploring. And there's stuff like this all over the game, and every single new day, every single NPC has new dialogue. Even just the rando ones.
That's
and
a nice touch.
every single NPC has a name. Even the rando NPCs that aren't related to anything. And you can go talk to them and they'll get a little character page in your little booklet. So, yeah, it's very deep on the world building. You can go to the library and read the entire history of the Trails franchise if you want. There are a lot of books in that library you can read. Or you can just go to the wiki.
Well, you could do that.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to be boned up on like the political situation in a bunch of different countries, and
yeah, you're playing as the ostensibly bad guys, the enemy territory from the Trails in the Sky series, but you're just kids at a military academy, and they apparently have decided this year they're going to set up a trial class, Class 7, which uses new experimental orbital technology, which are the little orbital tech you see all over the Trails series, where you have to unlock parts of it.
why is it that people always experiment on children? Like, there's got to be an alternative to immediately using high school students as guinea pigs. But in every anime, it's always the first choice.
The justification they gave was the way this works is it allows you to link together with your fellow classmates. So it's best if you grow and develop together to become a cohesive combat unit. That's about as far as they tried to justify it. They stopped after that. But your teacher's a lush, and she is the second best character in the game. And she's just drunk all the time. And every other line from her is, "I'll buy you a drink later when you're older." And half of the missions involving her revolve around getting her more beer. So, she's fun. And the best character in the game is a girl who is totally not a ninja, but is totally a ninja.
Does she actively deny being a ninja?
Yes.
So she's like Vlad, the not a vampire.
Yeah.
Who is not a vampire.
So when the aforementioned button gets pushed to drop the entire class into the hole to be orientated, as the drunk teacher puts it, during orientation, the totally non-ninja girl Fee just latches onto the ceiling with a little wire with a dart at the end she shoots from her wrist. And the drunk teacher's like, "No cheating, Fee," and cuts the wire by shooting it.
Why? Good grief.
And then the camera cuts to Fee with the longest hang time in the world of just like, "Man," and she falls in the hole. So there are fun characters. I'm enjoying my time with the class they got. It's only 9 characters in the class for this special class, so the cast is kept fairly small, so it's easier to get to know all the characters a little more in depth than if it was some giant 18-plus students I had to get to know.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not really flooded with a ton of dudes at the start like you are in like Dupalooper or something. You just got 9 dudes you got to get to know, and they do a pretty good job of introducing all their character quirks right away. Now the only problem is I've only played halfway through the first Trails in the Sky game. And I wanted to finish that before I touched the Cold Steel series.
It's relatively, from what I've seen of the first game, because I played the first game all the way through, they were relatively insular. Like the nation's pretty much from the part of the nation that you have access to throughout the game is pretty isolationist.
Yeah. But like right away, this class is being taught differently, and they're like, "This is just like the Bracers Guild." And drunk teacher's just like, yeah, it sure is. It tries to ignore you when that's the core group of that's your quest hub type dealie for the first game. They're the organization you work for, but they're a foreign unit.
Well, it's sort of implied in Trails in the Sky that the Braces pretty much wreck the crap out of the rank and file trained by the enemy nation. Like there are way fewer of them, but they're vastly more competent.
Oh yeah, because they get all their experience the practical way of do it and hope you do it right.
Yeah, do it and hope you survive.
Don't die.
Yeah, get your butt out there and go do stuff. And that's how they teach this class. Is they send, instead of having a normal curriculum of teaching you how to work as a unit and in the field, they just pair you up with about in groups of 2 to 5 and just send you out into the field to go handle real field work.
Try not to die.
Pretty much. And the teacher will be slyly waiting in the back to save your life if you screw up too bad. But you have to solve the mystery and fix the real domestic problems caused by the real corrupt lords all on your own.
That doesn't speak. That doesn't really speak well of the institution, though. It's like, oh yeah, we know this lord is corrupt, and we 100% have the means to do something about it. But we're not going to because we need the high school students to try.
This it is implied heavily that this was all drunk teacher's bright idea for that particular mission.
Oh,
that they needed a field study mission, and drunk teacher just raised her hand at the staff meeting and was like, "I got a great idea."
That sounds like something you would say.
I relate very strongly to drunk teacher.
I've got a great idea, and it's not because I'm drunk.
So that's been the game so far. It's not your typical Trails fare from if you played the Sky series, because it's more traditionally RPG, but it still has the ability to move your character. And it still has turns based that with certain actions delaying your next turn by a certain amount, and positioning still important for buffs, debuffs, and AoE attacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pretty simple JRPG, all things considered. It's got systems and mechanics that are cool, but it's not really worth going into all of them until I've had time to really chew through it and see how deep it goes. So. Yeah,
I've had it sitting in my Steam list of things to play for a very long time now, simply because I've got so many others to play, so many other JRPGs to play, and I'm stubbornly trying to finish the Trails in the Sky series first, but not making much progress. Because I binged the first one, and then the second one I got distracted by something, I think.
Yeah.
Which one have I got here? Trails in the Sky. Okay, so I've got one there sitting too as well.
Yeah, that series comes before Cold Steel.
Yeah,
and I've heard it helps you get a better understanding for how the world is the way it is if you play Sky first. So having at least a cursory knowledge of what the heck an Orbital something is from the Sky series is going to help you a lot going into this game. So I would actually recommend you at least poke at Trails in the Sky before you try Trails of Cold Steel. So. Yeah, I'll probably have more to report as I chew through more of the game. But right now, it's just... I didn't know I was in the mood for just a regular JRPG. But apparently I was, because it's all I played with my free time after Wednesday this week. And, yeah, it's a JRPG. So, unfortunately, I don't have any time to play it.
Yay, life.
I don't want to be an adult anymore.
Like, I got through one chapter, one singular, in 3.5 days. One of which I didn't have to work because it was Saturday, and I slept most of it. Because I was tired after working. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. I don't want to adult anymore, man. Can we go back to college? When we had all the free time in the world?
That's saying something.
All
right.
Oh dear. And that's pretty much been everything I did. I poked my head back in Final Fantasy 14. We fought Beardman. I got called autistic.
Yeah.
But you kind of were, from their point of view, you kind of were acting pretty autistic. You're compulsively gathering the shiny things so that other people die.
It didn't matter. There's no server accountability. That guy will forget in 5 minutes.
Well, the thing is that we're still romped it anyway because the difficulty level on this now so low.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you it was a lot harder when I did it.
It
Yeah,
was
I'm just-
back in the day.
Doesn't matter. I heard face check the orbs and was not paying attention at all, trying to get ready for the show. So I just face checked literally all the orbs.
No, you're supposed to keep the orbs down to a manageable level, not take all of them.
Okay. This was not elucidated on.
But despite
So-
the fact that you literally derped everything that could be derped, it didn't make any difference.
So yeah, it didn't matter. So yeah. But yeah, doesn't matter anyway. No server accountability because modern MMOs are derp.
Derp.
Doesn't matter. Cross realm grouping. Personal accountability is not a thing. Looking at all modern MMOs with this glare and what you should
Yeah.
fix.
Well, I don't think Final Fantasy XIV is structured for it anyway. Like, it's not a game where you meet random people in the world and group up with them 99% of the time.
Yeah, no. That would
Even
be
if there were
more-
lots of people, you still wouldn't do it because it doesn't really offer you any benefits. Since
Yeah.
there's no loot drops and stuff.
Yeah, it's that's more of a classic WoW Terra thing.
Yeah.
I need an adult.
Need an adult.
Have an official picture for that now. But yeah, I think that's about it. I did one hunt in Monster Hunter World. I hunted one Nargacuga on a whim, and because it was an optional quest, and that was it.
That's not bad.
The rest of the
I suppose.
time, rest of the time I've just been working. It's been a real busy few weeks. I got some video gaming in this week. On Tuesday, I put a big asterisk next to this. I should have some free time again.
Yay.
Because that's when this current work cycle will end. And most of the stuff will be shipped out and invoices sent. But there's nothing saying that another workload won't come crashing on my desk on Monday.
Or that the opossum won't find a way to screw up what you've currently done.
I sent Vol some of the opossum's more ridiculous things he said this week.
Oh dear, do I want to know?
Hey, are you keeping track of everyone I sent this Emory Hospital quote to? No. Well, you need to start keeping track of that. You mean you don't remember who you sent the email to? Nah.
Oh,
It's like, why aren't you being my memory for me?
It's like, hey, we need you to do some middle data for customer A. Okay, I'll do that real quick. Do it. Send it to the opossum. Hey, we need to get that quote done for Emory. Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you. Give me a sec. Send it to him. Why did you email me the submittal data before the quote? I just sent the quote to the submittal data people by accident or
What?
something. So
Did
he asked me.
Did he not look at what you sent him? He just sent it.
No, he is retarded,
Uh,
and I mean that in the most disparaging way possible.
Like, he's an example of what happens when a family business goes to seed.
yeah.
Like, how are you that dumb?
Anyway,
Well,
we
I'm-
should move on
I'm-
before we get stuck in
I'm-
ranting.
Ari needs to forget about his trauma.
Yes.
I'm having non-style flashbacks, and it's only been a few days.
Oh boy. Alright, let's get good and angry about something then. Let's dive straight in the news. You want to jump in and just do the big meaty bit, or you want to make fun of Kotaku first?
I want to make sure we ain't got any emails first.
Eh,
Okay, we don't have any emails.
I didn't think we did.
Okay, the Blizzard thing is going to take us a while, so we can do that last. So let's do any non-Blizzard topics we have first.
Alrighty. Let me just pop up the list and let's have a look-see. That's all WoW stuff, Wizard stuff, Blizzard stuff, lots of Blizzard stuff. Let me see. So, Fallout 76 had another bad week. This has been a ruling that should come as absolutely no surprise to anyone who knows how the Australian legal system works. But the ACCC has finally handed down their ruling on Fallout 76 and has ruled that Bethesda and ZeniMax rather must provide refunds for those who requested them within a reasonable time frame. And that's only for Australians. Sorry, guys, but yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean you can go and actually put in for a refund now. It's anyone who has contacted ZeniMax before the 1st of June this year.
Yeah, so this is what your trade commission is actually, in theory, supposed to function as.
Yes.
This is the one example of them saying, wait a minute, these guys were promised a product, and they didn't get the product they were promised, and they paid their money for it already, and the product is clearly not going to be delivered. So you can't just take their money.
Yeah. The ACCC has a kind of about a 50% hit rate, which is actually pretty good for a trade commission.
For a government department.
Yes. I mean, they're not utter complete failures, so that's not bad.
Yeah, well, I am the most pro-capitalism capitalist of all time you will ever meet. You can't scam people, and that's what Fallout 76 is.
Yeah, at this point, it's just a scam. Especially considering there's rumors going around of them putting more behind the paywall.
That is all but confirmed that even more gameplay features will be locked behind the paywall.
Yeah.
We just don't have an official announcement yet, but very credible leakers have said, not specifics, but just more stuff is going to be behind the paywall. And as the cherry on top this week for more bad news for Fallout 76, you don't need specifics about the Halloween event, just everything about it was broken.
I can imagine.
None of it worked.
All of it was broken.
Yeah. I saw reports of literally every aspect of it not working.
So they're like, other MMOs do seasonal events, we can do that too. No need to test anything.
Quality control? What's that? Playtesting?
This has got to be some kind of social study done by Bethesda. They got to have been contracted out by some psychology firm or something. This can't be real. This isn't the real world.
Is this just fantasy? So yeah, that's just at this point. Why? There's no redeeming this game at this point. Like, when it first came out, it was a mess, but it could have been saved. They've completely burned every single possibility of saving this game.
Along with the goodwill of their entire customer base.
Yes.
That was a lot of goodwill. People really liked Morrowind and Oblivion.
Yeah.
And Fallout 3, even though it was buggy.
Yeah.
They had done a solid job building goodwill, and through Fallout 4, and especially Fallout 76, they have undone over a decade of goodwill. Only topped by another company we'll talk about this month.
Alright. What's next? I mean, we could keep banging on Fallout 76, but that's not just a dead horse. That's a kind of a very thin paste that used to be a dead horse.
We can talk about Anthem.
Why? No one plays Anthem anymore.
That's the point. Apparently, it doesn't even have a director anymore.
Again.
So, the current guy, what's his name? Head of live service, Chad Robertson, just packed up and left.
Well, nobody wants to have on their CV that they were the one who was at the helm when Anthem was rammed into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, where Fallout 76 failed, it was a good a concept that people were open to, but they fell on their face. Anthem was a concept that nobody was open to in the first place.
Anthem was a concept that didn't know what it was until 3 months before launch and tried to duct tape itself together.
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much that as that the producer corporate suit guy decided that he wanted to be something other than what their design was immediately before release.
Yeah, let's announce a game, but we don't know what the game actually is or even actually what it's properly called.
Yeah,
And let's
like
just put that to the investors.
they were nearing the end of pre-planning when they first announced Anthem, and they had something rolling, and then they didn't know how to work the software they were being forced to use. And so by the time they got training on that, the corporate suit at the top comes in and says, "Okay, you're going to make this game instead."
Yep.
No, make it like Iron Man.
I'm trying to remember what the original actual title of it was. It wasn't Anthem. It was something that was
Just as generic.
Beyond. It was originally called Beyond. Which
is,
actually,
yes, very generic.
extremely generic, but at least it would have fit the theme, which is, we're hiding behind a wall, we need to go beyond the wall. But Anthem means nothing.
You gotta sing a song about how great the people behind your wall are.
But they're not. They're kind of terrible because they live and die on microtransactions.
Your paywall. Oh. No.
I hope you're not too proud of yourself for that one.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
No, it was supposed to be bad. Like Anthem.
Like Anthem.
Oh!
So, oh dear. Anthem was kind of doomed right from the get-go, and the only people who couldn't see it were EA.
Well, you mean executive meddling at the last minute to totally changed the focus of a project? No,
Yep.
no, that'll work out just fine.
I know. It's lovely, lovely meddling.
As I'm talking about EA failing at stuff, what I was putting, this little plastic thing I'm putting together in my hands just fell apart.
Is it made by EA?
Probably.
Okay. So, on a better note, I suppose, EA Games now back on Steam, at least.
Yeah, they had to come crawling back.
Because nobody uses it.
So, can you get, like, all 3 Mass Effects now?
Let's take a
Yeah.
look.
I think Origin has to defunct itself before we'll see those pop back up, but they might already be back up. I don't know.
Mass Effect 1, 2, and...
1, 2.
Just 1 and 2.
Well,
Alright, let
So
me
yeah,
see.
we'll definitely have to see Origin reach its critical, okay, we're done, guys, before we see all of EA's products come back over. Because Origin is just dead.
Yeah.
I don't know a single person that has Origin on their machine in like the last 2 to 3 years. I was going to say 10 years, but my time frame is getting stretched.
Yeah. So they've already announced and they're taking pre-orders for Jedi the Fallen Order through Steam. That's the first thing that's come back over so far.
I have zero faith in that game as well. Like, there seem to be wildly divergent opinions on what it actually is and what it's like. And if it's any good, for that matter.
The only thing I hear is, but there's a woman that's at the head of the writing. That's the only thing I ever hear about it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that's helpful or even meaningful in any way.
Like, if you have to rely on the writer's gender to get your brownie points, something's wrong with the game.
Yeah, they should be selling, like, this is the writer has worked on this, this, and this. Go on pedigree.
If you really want to make it stand out, list the quest lines they worked on. Or whatever in the game. So we know if they're good. But no. Oh, EA.
Yeah, the trailer they showed at E3 was okay, but it was about as generic as it could have possibly been. So, yeah.
Alright. There's an elephant in the room.
Does it have to be? Alright. BlizzCon happened.
BlizzCon happened.
BlizzCon.
Well,
There are so many horribly racist jokes I want to make that I am
not do
No.
that.
reeling myself in.
well, you had best. You had best be doing that reeling.
But
just
how do
keep
we
on
want to
reeling.
track? So actually,
Alright.
the first thing we need to tackle is the thing that ticked me off more than anything else. And
Alright.
that was the not apology.
The non-apology.
The non-pology, for the opening ceremony. I think what we should do is, otherwise we're not going to get anywhere, is probably let's get all the Hong Kong stuff out of the way first, and then look at everything else on its own.
All right.
Otherwise we're just going to keep
We
coming
can-
back to it.
we're going to keep coming back to it anyway, because everything about Blizzard wraps back around into this. You can't support communism, period.
Yeah, well, this whole BlizzCon is about managing that disaster ultimately.
Yeah.
At this point,
And that's how they opened it.
Yeah. So, J. Allen Brack, with his making a political statement gay lapel with the rainbow flag on it.
They've had those every single year for the last 5.
But that's bannable now. That's a political statement. That's bannable now. J. Allen Brack should not be on stage for 6 months.
I'd like it.
yeah, especially since Overwatch characters aren't gay in China.
Yep. Clearly a political statement that changes by country and is sensitive in nature to the Chinese people. He should be banned for 6 months.
Yeah, go away, J. Allen Brack. You're banned from Blizzard for 6 months.
No paycheck.
Oh,
we take
no.
all your paychecks for every bit of time you spend at Blizzard. All of them. They're ours now. You have to give them to us because we're banning you. Give them to Bobby.
Well, this went a completely wrong direction, I get already.
Seems very appropriate to me.
True, but I honestly didn't expect you to go that route. So, do we have... Where did I see that? The actual wording of the non-apology.
Basically, it comes down to him saying, we moved too quickly in our decision making, and that made matters worse. We were too slow to talk with everybody.
So what they're saying is that they would have made the exact same decision, they just would have done it slower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did it too publicly. They made it so too many people could see.
So, okay, yes, he's identified his problem. Now apologise.
That he fumbled his optics. No, he's not. He hasn't identified the problem. He says we fumbled our optics. We looked bad for doing what we did. Not that what we did was bad. We looked bad for doing what we did.
Yeah, that's not
it would be
the
better
same thing remotely.
Yeah. This is admitting there was a hubbub, but not admitting that he done goofed.
Yeah.
And that's all this statement waters down to, and it gets even worse in a statement made the following day.
Where I haven't actually seen that one yet. Go for it.
This one is really, really fracking long, so I'm not going to read the whole thing out to you. But basically, what it comes down to is, as you know, Blizzard can't operate in China as its own company. We have to be a partner with somebody. And by the way, the casters aren't getting unbanned. And neither will Blitzchung.
Oh, okay, so they've just completely lied about all those repeals that they made.
Yeah, enough people pressured them to actually open their mouths and not unperson these people that they had to address it directly. Because during the first initial, we'll call it an apology for sake of brevity. It wasn't, but we'll call it that. The first apology didn't mention any of the people that Blizzard screwed by name.
Well, if they did, that would have implied that they had made a mistake in some way.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. And they have, in this follow-up thing, they were forced to address it by name. And I don't know who is the guy they're interviewing here. Okay, it was J. Allen Brack again. And he had to name them by name, and he's like, yeah, we're not going to unban them. And he used corporate weasel speak the whole way through it.
Yep. So, along with all this, the protests have been fun.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh is everywhere. As is Communist Rebel May.
Chubby little commie all stuffed with fluff. He's Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear.
So, yeah. Can you tell I'm not happy with China?
I can tell.
China.
So, yeah, that immediately fell flat at the opening post.
Yeah, I don't know the extent to which the average BlizzCon attendee, like, for starters, I don't know what sort of person the average BlizzCon attendee is.
Mm.
Well, I don't know if they are, if the average attendee is like the most blind of blind fanboys, or if they are the normal average gamer, or if they are, by bulk people who are very aware of things that are going on in the gaming industry and things related to Blizzard, or whether they're just like people who like to cosplay WoW characters. I just don't know what the average person is. So I don't know what the ultimate reaction is going to be to all of this stuff. So sort of hard to tell to the extent to which this opening debacle actually colors anything else that happens.
Yeah, BlizzCon has just ended, so we don't have a good sense of the community response yet, but there's some really tall Winnie the Poohs all over the place. There's no way they can show any footage of general crowds in China.
Yeah, because there's a poo in every single one.
There are at least 8 Winnie the Poohs running around inside and a lot more outside.
There's a lot of poo.
There's a lot of Winnie the Pooh. And there is a truck with glowing neon highlighting all the companies that bowed to China. Nike, Apple, Dior, Disney, Blizzard.
That truck, I'm actually surprised they managed to get that done so quick. It's done very professionally, and it's got May on the back, and then it's got all the icons all over the back.
Well, the thing is that gaming is not a real profession, and as such, it means that everybody has a day job.
One of them just happened to be a promoter.
Yeah, somebody is going to be, aren't they? It's only logical with the way, Blizzard themselves have gone to such a huge effort to expand gaming to as many audiences as possible. Well, I mean, what that just means is that you have every profession under the sun now has an opinion on your games and your policies. I hope you enjoy it.
Some lighting guy and some truck detailer got together and were like, hey, these happen to be our jobs. Let's make a cool truck.
Yep. We got a cool truck. Alright, so Blizzard sat down after that and, despite people being generally cranky with them, announced a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and announce is the key word because that's pretty much as far as it goes for a lot of it.
Now,
yeah.
I haven't just been linking everybody that's been talking up the recent releases and even people that haven't been talking up the recent announcements by Blizzard. The Hollow Knight trailer for the sake of me giving certain favors to Hollow Knight.
At least not just for that.
Not just for that. It's because it's a compare and contrast here. We've got basically no gameplay at all from any of the stuff that they have announced. And they've announced a major release for all of their franchises except for StarCraft.
Mm-hmm.
But next to no gameplay, and the gameplay they showed was clearly pre-alpha.
Yep.
Like, put together for the demo.
Yeah, I saw some of that. It looks really bad. Like, those are the sort of animations that are cobbled together on a stock pattern in, 20 minutes.
Yeah, this was the stuff they slapped together the week before the convention. This is not
professionalism.
It is just to have something to show because they know they done goofed bad and have ticked everybody off. Here, look at the new shinies. Please forget about what you were mad about. So we'll start in reverse order, I think, from what we're most least interested in and go to most interested in, or would be if, we still cared about Blizzard.
Yeah.
So first, we'll start with Overwatch, because I think we all care the least about Overwatch of the 3 properties that got announcements.
That's a fair assumption.
So, 2 articles here, both of them from Niche Gamer. First one details the actual reveal of Overwatch 2, otherwise known as Overwatch 1.1.
Yeah, didn't Valve release this for TF2 for free?
Yeah. So you get a PvE mode, a couple new heroes, and all your old stuff's portable over because the exact same engine and models. It just got a 2 next to it. So you got to buy it all again.
If they had not ported over all the loot box stuff, could you imagine the riot?
Well, I mean, the thing is that it's not porting anything. It's just the same game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Overwatch 2 is a glorified DLC. It's not even a proper DLC. It's a glorified DLC for Overwatch, and that's all that there is to it.
And Vol hit the nail on the head with it. I was going to bring this up earlier. TF2 put the freaking PvE mode in for free when they made their game free to play.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and the apparently they're planning on having the all of the extant PvP stuff will all be accessed at present. The present plans, all of the current PvP Overwatch stuff will remain intact, and that when Overwatch 2 drops, any updates to PvP coming through that medium will still automatically be conveyed to everybody who's already got the original Overwatch game. The only people who get reamed are the people that want the PvE content.
So why would you buy Overwatch 2 at all?
They'll have exclusive skins to Overwatch 2.
Yeah, they will do that. They'll find some way to try and crowbar people over into it.
Yeah, it'll probably be a game mode or something later on down the track too.
Yeah, it's hard to say precisely which tactic they will choose, but they will certainly do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are plenty of scummy ways they can do that. So the second article on Overwatch. Jeff Kaplan was asked, can you guesstimate a release window for Overwatch 2?
Nope.
His response, and I quote, I have no idea when Overwatch 2 will launch.
My dude, this is your company. It's sort of your job to know.
If you didn't have some vague idea, why are you announcing it?
Because they need to. They need to cast lots and lots of shiny things all over the showroom floor to try and make people forget their complete lack of morality.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and it's very clear. Like, this cinematic trailer was real nice and everything, but I bet this was part of a short film patch, like, for a patch, not as an announcement trailer. Like, yeah, Blizzard's team for doing the CGI stuff is really good. But
they are.
I guarantee this thing was being put together for a patch that had this stuff instead of Overwatch 2. And
that's why. Yeah, that's why everything they show looks super, super polished, except that it's still nowhere near release.
Yeah.
So that shows that this is not part of their product. This is not part what they were intending on doing.
Yeah. So obviously they don't have enough to showcase the gameplay very, very deep because
or at all.
Or at all in Overwatch's case for the most part. That they just kind of got to get it out there. Like, look, Overwatch 2. And I think they're digging themselves a hole that they don't know they're digging themselves into with this. Because if they start saying all these new sequels are coming, they lock their dev teams into making these sequels.
No, they don't.
All of the franchises?
No, they don't. They don't lock their devs into anything. That's why they were able to destroy Titan in a heartbeat. They destroyed StarCraft Ghost. They destroyed Warcraft Adventures. They have no problem not following through on those promises. They don't care at all.
Well, they may not have a problem with it. They may feel like they can axe these or change the plans, but the community feedback nowadays ain't going to take that.
This is about them attempting to stabilize their investors so that they don't all jump ship. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
This is nothing to do with their future projects. In fact, this entire thing is an exercise for the investors in their stock.
Mm-hmm.
They need to present themselves as a company that has a future and isn't about to crater.
Yeah. So that's Overwatch. The biggest insult of the show was easily the Diablo announcement. In terms of just games.
The Diablo 4 tech demo.
Diablo 4 exists in theory.
Yeah, the Diablo 4, we cobbled together the gameplay we are showing literally last night.
When you arguably look worse than Diablo Immortal, you have a problem.
Yeah. And at least they had a pretty cinematic trailer to distract people this time. But that's all they had.
That's it. So it exists in perpetuity or something? I don't know.
The perpetuity. But they have revealed 3 classes. Okay. You have your druid again. Remember Diablo 2, guys?
Yay.
Hey guys, please remember Diablo 2.
Here's your sorceress again. Here's your barbarian warrior type. And that's literally all they had.
Yeah, 3 classes. 3.
Just 3.
So, and you have to watch.
They couldn't even complete like the classic fighter mage rogue. Like they couldn't even manage that.
No, you got tank healer DPS instead.
Well, the druid is DPS as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The barbarian's DPS, not a tank. Like barbarians are all about damage in the classical imagining of them,
Axes,
not like paladins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just like They clearly don't have very much to show, and that's really actually very strange. Like, how many times in the background has their project been axed for them to have so little done at this stage?
Yeah, it's a mess, and you really have to. We don't have the footage here, but you have to watch the gameplay footage in air quotes that they showed to get a real understanding for just how bad this is. Because everything from the quality of the models to their animations, it screams pre-alpha.
I would show it, but YouTube doesn't like that.
I mean, I would say that to me, it looks slightly worse than one of those Chinese Diablo knockoffs.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Like the animations are all super simplified. The lighting effects super simplified. Everything about it is really like reduced to the absolute minimum that it could possibly be.
And I saw online commentary trying to defend this. Like, I really like the darker lighting they got going on. Like, that's because there isn't any lighting.
Yeah, they haven't put it in yet. That's why everything's a flat color.
The lighting doesn't exist.
They haven't made it yet.
This is probably something, a tech option they had in the engine maybe sitting around that they threw together and called Diablo 4.
Yeah, it very much looks to me like the sort of thing that you show as a progress report for the early alpha stages of a game. Like, well, this is our target. This is what we're going to have the whole game looking like.
This is a proof of concept. Even if
there's no game there. There's no game there. Like, you don't see any game elements in the footage they show. All you see is like a guy hacking at enemies or making a spell happen or whatever. Like, there's no actual play happening per se. The enemies are set to march at a guy who will then hit them.
Yeah, it's like just a clump of dudes runs at a guy who's a bear who does a bear thing at them, and then they all die.
Like, this material is not even suitable for advertising.
Yeah. There was no key abilities shown. We didn't get any feel for what these classes are like or what makes them unique. And it just all looked like doo-doo anyway.
It's bad, yo.
It's real bad. Blizzard, you done goofed. And we're going to keep reminding you done goofed forever.
Yep. Next one we don't care about, really.
Hope you're a fan of AA Milne.
Poor Milne. He didn't have his work, I don't know, co-opted, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, man, I should check and see what Mark Kern's been saying about the BlizzCon announcements.
Oh, I can bet you he is spitting fire.
It depends on what type of mood he's in. He can sometimes have a chill response to stuff he's clearly simmering about, and then sometimes he's just spitting hot fire.
Yeah.
He had too many chilies the night before or something.
Things get spicy.
So, how do I don't have to be careful until the second half of this one.
Okay.
Well, the last third. I'll save the part that I'm most likely to get us in trouble with for last.
Oh, no. Do I have to press the mute button at a given time?
You might want to get your
Oh, no, I know what he's talking about now.
Okay. Let's do it.
It's not to the last third of Blizzard, of the current of WoW, so...
Alright.
Okay, so a new WoW expect got announced. Okay, this one was kind of expected. It's about that
because
time.
it had all been leaked beforehand.
Well,
yeah, it had all been leaked beforehand. It was about that time anyway. Everybody hated BFA. It was time to move on. This was expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people have gotten accustomed to the idea of a TikTok in Blizzard expansions. There's always a bad one and then a good one.
Well, we've just had bad ones.
That's the model they're going. Well, the thing is that Legion had a lot of good things about it.
It did.
It did. It depends on the way you observe it, though, because historically they have gotten attached to ideas for extended periods of time, and even other content that's redeemable tends to drown in them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it seems like this is slated to be one of their better ones in terms of the way the schedule seems to work. Typically,
going through all the features, the storyline as a whole, or rather the theme and concept. everything that they're saying, even the fact that they don't seem to have a central grind this time, though Azerite or artifact power again, it looks good.
Yeah. But if I was strongly inclined to go back to WoW, then I might consider it.
Yeah, like I like the story hooks and all of that. It actually gives Sylvanas' actions a point.
Shadowlands is all the environments they showed looked cool.
Yeah,
but the art team has never been the problem, has it?
No.
Like they've always, given the engine they're working with, they've always made excellent art assets.
Yeah, like there is a lot cool about this expansion, but it's too late.
But yeah,
It's being run by communists. That's all.
It's just communists, but also like it. Why did this plot hook take so long to come to fruition? Like after Cataclysm, there was absolutely no point where Sylvanas could have gone and done this. Gone and
well, there's reason to believe that she's not using her power to do it, because there's no reason why Sylvanas is strong enough to kill the Lich King.
Oh, they talked about that. She has an agent in the Shadowlands.
Well, yeah, she's probably borrowing the Jailer's power.
Yeah,
but that we don't know at what point in the story she managed to apprehend that amount of power, because it's implied that it's taken up until roughly now for Bolvar to get a grasp on the power of the Helm of Domination. There's no reason to believe that Sylvanas wouldn't need to adapt to her power as well, because you never see her use those powers until she fights Sourfang outside of Orgrimmar at the very, very, very end cinematic of Battle for Azeroth.
Yeah.
Like that, until then, she never uses that power. So she clearly doesn't really have access to it, because it would be useful for her to use if she could earlier. When she hits that point, then she realizes, the gig is up. All of the things that I was going to get out of my previous plan have been accomplished or got as close to accomplishing as they ever likely to get. Now's the time to go for the king hit.
All right. But still, though, why, if they've had this up their sleeve, why not trot this a good plot out instead of Warlords of Draenor, for example?
Well, because this plot didn't exist at the time of Warlords of Draenor.
True, but yeah.
Warlords of Draenor was a mistake. Everybody admits that. Blizzard admits that.
Blizzard admits that. Yeah, it was wrong from start to finish.
Like that was using an entire expansion to bring like one minor plot full circle.
Yeah. Seems like Battle for Azeroth really only existed to set this up.
Yeah, and that's essentially the problem, right? Like, Warlords of Draenor existed to set up Legion.
Yeah.
And Legion was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Legion was over. And suddenly they're taking another expansion to set up the good one.
Stop doing this, Blizzard. Just do a good plot. Attach the plot to the end of the last expansion. That's what Square Enix does.
But I feel like if you were to inspect it carefully, what you're likely to see is something like, how the primary consoles tend to trade off which one is dominant in phases, because one of them gets really arrogant.
Yes.
But it's probably like that internally at Blizzard as well. Like a person will attach to a particular way of doing things, and they will have a successful expansion, and then they will think that means all my ideas are good. And then they will make the unsuccessful expansion, and then that guy will have to eat humble pie. Yeah.
So we got what looks to be a very good expansion coming up. Like, there's some really cool mechanics in there. That whole Tower of What's-Its-Name system looks really cool. It means I can go and do, small group content without other people.
I mean, they implemented Palace of the Dead in World of Warcraft.
Essentially, yeah.
So they're just copying that from Final Fantasy. I don't mind if they copy things from other MMOs if they're good features.
Yeah, if it's good, copy it. It's worth copying.
Yeah, I mean, goodness knows people have been doing it from WoW for long enough. The reason why I like Final Fantasy XIV is that they pinched the parts of WoW that they wanted to use, that they thought worked well, and they ran with it in their own direction. So I don't mind if WoW returns the favour.
Yeah.
Because there are issues with Palace of the Dead. It's not the most engaging game type, particularly at the lower levels, and if you don't have other people to play it with. There are lots of ways that you can improve on that. And I haven't tried the sequels to Palace of the Dead either.
Yeah,
so
got to get
clearly room There's clearly room and exploration of that game, that content type as a concept that Blizzard can draw from and put their own spin on.
Blizzard's approach to this seems to be modifiers for your class. Like, as you go through, you might unlock an artifact. The example they give for Shaman is a flat DPS boost, permanent Flare Shock, or permanent Fire Elemental, but you lose access to frost spells. No idea how permanent those are, though. Like, is it just for that run, or is it every run? I think that permanent?
I think that the idea is that each run develops in a slightly different way depending on what you get access to.
Yeah,
and you've got to improvise based on the tools you've got to hand.
Yeah, which is a really cool concept.
That's a concept that's pinched straight out of Final Fantasy.
It is. It is also
Final
that.
Fantasy apparently thought purged in the offices of Blizzard.
Yeah, there's a rumor that actually even saying Final Fantasy in Blizzard offices will get you disciplined.
Oh, good grief! Why?
Because their subscription numbers dipped down below a million.
Right as Final Fantasy's broke 1 million.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy has capped and exceeded Blizzard at its WoW at its peak.
Yeah, so it's just they you know that there's a lot of very, very big egos in that Blizzard development team. And
very Russell Jimmies.
Final Fantasy, having basically stolen World of Warcraft's formula and then ran with it in their own preferred direction, is, you know, a huge shot across the bow to them. Like, they aren't very happy about that, because it basically indicates someone can take the material that we're doing and keep running with it, expansion after expansion. And every single expansion for Final Fantasy 14 has been met with critical acclaim. There haven't been beta expansions that people hated. That just didn't happen. There have been ones people like more than others. Like, most people like Heavensward better than they like Stormblood, and most people like Shadowbringers the best so far. Like, people just feel that they absolutely knocked it out of the park. But when you are arguing over which one is better than another one, is a lot better than arguing over which one is worse than another one.
Yeah, and that's what Blizzard tends to have happened.
BC good. Wrath dropped the ball a little bit. Cataclysm
Wrath
started good, then dropped the ball a little bit. Pandas.
Wrath was great Wrath was great for its writing, but it was terrible for its mechanics.
That I think that the worst thing about Wrath was neither the writing nor the mechanics. It was the philosophical decisions they thought were best going forward.
Yeah. But after Cataclysm, then it just became, this expansion is wholly good and that's it, or it's wholly bad.
Yeah, well, that's just happens to be how people tend to remember things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good by any stretch of the imagination, but it is how people's minds work.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, this looks like it's going to be the good expansion, right on cue. But
it's a bunch of China bowing commies.
You seem rustled.
Little bit.
Just all the jimmies.
Little bit. If you support Blizzard and buy this expansion, you're a commie.
I mean, Blizzard can walk it back. There's no reason why they have to continue down this path. The people will leap all over supporting them if they see a big games company finally take a moral stand on something.
Yeah. But it won't be Blizzard.
There's no reason why it couldn't be other than their own cowardice.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just their cowardice.
But they're commies.
Like, you saw Epic stand up and say, "Oh, we're going to do it," but it's not their asses in the fire. It means nothing.
They said, we're gonna do it." Then they did nothing.
Then they did nothing.
Because they are basically owned by Tencent. They're Tencent's controlled opposition.
Yeah, it was a virtual signal, nothing more.
So, and in keeping with this, Blizzard during their esports panel, they put up a whole bunch of games that are getting all these prizes and tournaments all over the world. And in that list was the World Championship for Arena and Mythic Dungeons.
Yeah.
What problem? Blizzard isn't fronting any money for these anymore.
Okay, did they say where the money's coming from?
the people that are actually running the events, not Blizzard themselves. Blizzard will not sponsor the major professional events for their own video game anymore.
Yay!
Suck it, commies. But yeah, so they just expect the people to cover all the costs themselves. So that's lovely.
So, by and large, this BlizzCon has been completely predictable.
Yeah, I wish I could just call it an outright bust. I would almost be comfortable with that because it would make sense. To me, it would make sense that BlizzCon deserves to be a bust when they have done nothing to compensate for their failures. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I don't know how the average Blizzard person, average Blizzard fan, reacts to this type of crap.
There's a large portion of the gaming community that just sees political stuff and immediately just zones out.
I can't blame them for it, but I mean that's basically that's not a product of useful political conflict. The way protesting in favor of Blizzard's censorship of the Hong Kong issue, that's productive protestation on a political issue. That's meaningful. It's important in its own way.
Yes,
but
and very easy to get results from if China sees it.
But the complete disenfranchisement with the idea of politics crossing paths with video games comes as a direct result of Blizzard continually pushing political agendas.
Mm-hmm.
In the past. Like, they made that bed for themselves. They desensitized people to it. And while that didn't actually follow their stated intentions, it may actually serve their purposes. Because it means that there are less people likely to take note of their political gaffes because, people are so sick of their political virtue signal.
Yeah, they just zone it out, tune it out.
Yeah, so they've created an environment where they're signaling to the people that they want, the worthless people who don't spend any money on games, and they don't really have to pay as heavy a penalty as they might otherwise when they do something, far beyond the pale.
But you see, in Shadowlands, you can change the race of your character more if you play
here
human.
we go.
No, we're not doing that.
It's a system that they're implementing that applies to multiple races, and it just so happens that the way it applies to humans is it allows you to actually have a set of features which roughly correlate to a set of phenotypes that exist in the real world. So if you want to look African, it will adapt your features to broadly look African as well as just painting the skin color on, which is all that it does currently. If you want to look Asian, it does the same thing.
I'm failing to see how this is bad.
This is not. There's nothing wrong with this at all. And in fact, it's probably overdue in a sense because if you're going to update the model somehow, when it comes to humans, because of the way human cognition operates, you need to have coherence in their features. It needs to make sense based on what people see, because the human ability to interpret facial features is dramatically elevated compared to our ability to retain information on other detailed things. You can tell this experimentally by using implements which ape faces but aren't quite like faces, and implements which are similarly detailed but have no commonality in structure with faces, and despite the former set not actually being faces, you can still remember the features because they're analogous to them. It's the same way you can see faces in anything, right?
Yep.
Any pattern of clouds in the sky or whirls on a piece of wood that's
anything
been
that's
cut
got
or whatever.
3 points on it, really.
Yeah, you can see a face there. This is the reason why this is important, because the reality is it's very true to say that every human being in World of Warcraft was white with a skin color pasted on top.
Yeah,
because they all had a generic European-esque phenotype to them.
I wouldn't go that far. I'd say it's more tuba-esque.
Well, I mean, it depends on whether you're thinking about vanilla or the more recent incarnation. The more recent incarnation is marginally better. Vanilla's like Cardbow from Yotsuba. Like,
yeah, it's like someone in this person's family tree was an actual potato.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's much problem with this, especially if it doesn't stop there and actually gets implemented over to the other races as is planned, because that allows a lot more sub race options. The thing is, I fully expect that everything except for the human sub race options will be brutally monetized out the rear.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you want to play as a sand troll? You just need to pay this little surcharge.
If you want to get unlocked the Wild Hammer tattoos, for example. He did make a mention of mechanomes, actually. That wasn't properly announced, so maybe there you go.
That was planned as an allied race for some time now. Yeah. I don't know whether or not. I don't. It could be in already for all I know. I don't really know if it is or not.
I heard it when checked, so no, it's not.
But I think it's only a matter of time until they start leaning really heavily on monetization for all of these additions.
Yeah, sad but true. Like, WoW's character creation system has been lagging or lacking quite a lot since its inception. So I'm glad it's getting an update, but yeah, it's Blizzard, and I don't trust how much they're going to put behind the paywall.
That and some of these just look really, really dumb.
Oh yeah, it's always going to look dumb.
Well, it's in development, and it's not like there aren't already features that look dumb.
Yeah,
like you could roll a mail off, for instance.
Well, those don't exist.
It's just something where was it? I saw an undead, and something caught my eye. Yeah, this caught me. Like, the freaking China communists are getting in our undead now.
No, that's fine. Not everyone likes the bones.
That's an option. I would have turned off the showing bones if I could in Classic because it looked really bad.
It did look.
I probably would have too. But
mainly my problem was that it didn't matter what you were wearing; you were always wearing shorts.
Unless it was like shorts or a robe. That was it.
Yeah, you always had to wear shorts or a robe.
Yeah. So
if it lets you turn off the shorts, I'm 100% on board with that. Because I just could never take undead characters seriously when they wore shorts into combat.
Yeah, if you can turn off your knee bones being exposed, then it should be just long pants, because the pants texture would extend below the pants, below the knees, if you weren't wearing boots. So yeah, that should solve that problem at least.
I don't know. I think I'm sticking with my Chinese conspiracy theories.
You do that.
You can't stop me.
I'm not going to bother to try.
Nah. So, yeah, it would be a very good expansion. If I was still into WoW, I'd probably be all over this one.
There was stuff that looked interesting, but Blizzard's a bunch of communists.
Yeah, they need to think about the ethical commitments.
So, yep. I don't know. If they do come around and turn around and, actually pull up their socks and man up, then maybe I'll check it out.
No, I'll still be playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Final Fantasy for now. I've neglected it for too long because Monster Hunter happened.
Blizzard doesn't have Yoko Taro.
Also that.
I mean, I would go back to WoW Classic if they weren't a bunch of communists.
You really want to put up with those guys?
I mean, I found a guild right before Blizzard became communists. They're pretty cool people. But they're communists.
Right,
not the people I met, but Blizzard is.
Alright. Anything else before we wrap up? I don't think we even really want to acknowledge Hearthstone.
I didn't even link anything.
Wait, that still exists?
It's a thing. It exists.
Huh.
They're finally letting Dragon Decks be a thing. The thing we tried to make work forever ago. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's a new expansion. It's called something, but nobody cares. Descent of Dragons.
Yeah.
Wait, what's
Rehashing
this?
the
Hang on a second.
Rehashing the failed. Oh, what?
Yeah, a phrase has just caught my eye. I need to quickly check this. What is this? Nah, this article's not particularly good, but there's Auto Battle and the Auto Battler.
Yeah, I didn't understand what the heck they were talking about either with that.
Yeah, it's like, using the quotes here, it's 24 unique heroes. Players recruit minions, strategically position them, and watch as they battle for supremacy. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yep, don't have a clue.
Probably they
Oh.
pinched Verminion from the Gold Saucer.
You know what it actually sounds like? Clash Royale. It's called Hearthstone Battlegrounds. The logo of which, by the way, looks like it was photoshopped in 5 minutes. But
They gotta get enough shinies out there, man.
I don't remember what Clash Royale is.
It's
Exactly.
a video game that me and Fern poked at on the phone for a while, which is now also owned by the communists.
Is
Yes,
that the
it
Mr.
is.
T one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of got your base over one side and the enemy's base on the other. You drop minions on your side and they just kind of wander over and fight.
I see.
And whoever does the best minioning, I guess, wins. It's like Verminion except with less control.
So it's a worse version of Verminion.
Yes. Verminion
Because it doesn't have Hildebrand in it.
Yeah, Verminion is superior because you play Hildebrand and you win. He is one of the most powerful minions you can stick on the board.
I've never even tried Verminion. I don't even know how to use it. I don't even know how to start a Verminion match.
Yeah, it's...
I
place
presume it's at the
Hildebrand.
Gold Saucer.
It is, but yeah, place Hildebrand, win. That's all you need to know. Alright, I don't think there was anything else particularly from BlizzCon that we really want to talk about.
No.
That's why
I'm trying to think if there was anything. No, I don't think that there was. And it's just, I don't know what I was expecting. My fondest hope was that they would find both their testicles and their moral compass, but that's like I might as well hope to win the lottery without buying a ticket.
Yeah, they did pretty much what I expected them to do, which was this kind of half-baked pseudo-apology.
I didn't even think they'd do that. I thought they would ignore it and they would just try and roll with, look at all this new shiny stuff, and then I was hoping we'd get a mic drop free Hong Kong from somebody, but didn't happen.
Yeah. Ignoring
They probably shot that guy backstage.
Yes. Ignoring it probably would have been better short term for them, but it would have been dragged out really harshly. Like, you can guarantee the mic drop moment if they tried to ignore it.
Yeah, it's better for them to pretend like they actually did something.
Yeah.
Commies.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Alright, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Only so much angry I can get at China in one show.
More just
For the
disappointment.
moment.
Like, it's the best WoW expansion that we've had in a long, long time. By the look of it. At least before Blizzard sticks their genitals into it. But,
Ew.
oh, you know they're going to. They always do.
Ugh.
Yes, yes.
Nope. Not touching that one.
They're going to do something to ruin it. They always do.
Nope. Not touching that one.
What, ruining it? They're going to ruin it.
No. Oh, they're gonna ruin it. I'm just... Nope.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of disappointed.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like all this stuff could be cool announcements if like 3 of the 4 announcements didn't have like clearly just slapdash, we need to say something written all over their faces.
Yeah, if it wasn't just rushed out and announced before it was ready to be announced.
Yeah, and the only reason we got Diablo 4 in addition to all this stuff was because they were already trying to recover from their gaffe last year.
And I think there were some leaks earlier in the week too.
Well, the reason Diablo 4 got announced and had the whole cinematic trailer ready to go was because they had a whole year to go, uh-oh.
We done goofed.
Yeah, that's from last year's Done Goof. Do you guys not have phones?
You guys not have phones?
Yeah, like, there's something to be said for being willing to go off script, but not like that.
Yeah, that's the wrong kind of improv.
One of the 2 times I've ever heard the crowd at BlizzCon boo.
I like how the biggest cheer that the crowd at BlizzCon made this year was, we're not having AP grinds this time.
Yeah. The cheer you got from that was incredible.
Take the hint. When people are cheering the removal of the feature, maybe it wasn't a good idea.
Like, there's some other really cool features in there, like, they've had to do this for a while now, and that's dropping the level cap back down to 60. But essentially, once you start grinding an alt through the new zones, you're already earning endgame progression.
Yeah, and the way the new world leveling system works, for the record, is, as I understand it, is that you basically pick a continent, and the content will be scaled to get your character to max level just by doing that.
Yeah.
So you could do Eastern Kingdoms, you could do Kalimdor, you could do Northrend, you could do Pandaria. If you really want to, you can go through the hell of Burning Crusade again. Wow. Just that will take you all the way from the start to the finish.
Yeah, that will get you from 1 to 50 as you just sit down and play through an expansion story. If you so choose. Or you can just, pick a random zone and off you go. But once you get to Shadowlands, the first character has to follow the storyline until they hit cap. But after that, you can just do whatever with an alt.
I think that's good, because Legion was just a mess. I don't know what system they used for Battle for Azeroth, but in Legion there was no coherence between the zone stories whatsoever. They all tell different stories, and half of them were plot lines that got amputated.
BFA was pretty much the same. Each zone was a self-contained story, and there was an overarching story, but it kind of went on hold until you hit max level.
You can't tell an overarching story if you don't know what order people are going to read the chapters of the book in.
That's right. So you end up with this story in a holding pattern from, the initial moments it starts out. Every now and again, you get a little bit of it when you deliver a What's-It back to the to Dalaran, a MacGuffin, and then that's it. Once it doesn't move it forward until you reach max level again.
Yeah, so it makes sense when a dungeon master sets up a set of MacGuffins that the group can do, and they can pick what order they do in, because the dungeon master can adapt on the fly. If you're going to direct the entire experience, there's no reason that you should surrender that ability to do something pointless in the name of, player freedom, quote unquote, where there's not really any freedom whatsoever, because ultimately that'll be like, they'll work out which zone they think is the easiest to do, and they'll just do that one. I look up online, like the only advantage, the one sole advantage that method has ever offered is the splitting up of the launch day player base.
Yeah.
That's the only advantage. And honestly, that applies for like a week.
Yeah. So yeah.
And even then, you don't really need to do that anymore with the way the mob tagging system works.
Yeah, it's not necessary. If their server infrastructure is as good as it ought to be by now, there should be no necessity for that type of crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, they went over a few of the dungeons. Like, I'm glad probably the only interesting character who was introduced in Battle for Azeroth is getting his own dungeon, which is Bwonsamdi. He is the troll. Honestly, I half expect the guy to break out into a villain song at any random point.
Yeah, he's pretty much a Disney villain. As far as I can tell, he's based on that one from that Disney movie which
Princess
had the voodoo
Frog
guy in it.
Baron.
Yeah, that
what's
one.
his nuts?
Yeah.
Baron Samedi type dealy.
Yeah, that dude.
So he's kind of got that combined with Shea Gorath, I think.
He's got friends on the other side, is what he's got.
Yeah,
is what he's got. So I'm glad.
I would be totally unsurprised to see Bwonsamdi sing that.
Yeah.
It would even make sense.
It would. So yeah, there's cool things in WoW, and there's reasons to come back.
Yeah, it's not like I've never been tempted to come back, because I'm very much partisan of the Sylvanas faction.
Yeah.
I always have been, because I played Forsaken almost exclusively when I was playing through Vanilla and Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. But since they just removed morality from the universe as a whole, they just chopped it out of there. I sent a rant to Ari last night about what they did. But there's no such thing as morality in the World of Warcraft universe. Everything is relativized. So there's no reason why I can't just be a Sylvanas partisan and advocate for the genocide of everybody Sylvanas doesn't like because she's the queen. Like,
yeah, I make like dinner when you started that rant. I realized you were going to be there for a while.
Yeah. There's metaphysically the entire setting has come unglued because of the changes that they made in the retcons to the story and so on and so forth.
To use Blizzard's own words, Sylvanas broke death.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that at least makes sense compared to some of the other stuff. Like, I don't think that they should have spent an entire expansion putting that on the back broiler, but. Yeah. It makes sense, at least. I mean, the thing she's most scared of is death, so if you just smoosh life and death together so dying doesn't actually send you anywhere in particular, then, well, I mean, that's a surefire way to get out of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that seems to have backfired, though. It just sends you into limbo.
Maybe after we kill Sylvanas, we can get Vol'jin back.
Vol'jin's going to turn up. They've already confirmed Uther's going to turn up.
Yeah, we can fish Vol'jin out of the Shadowlands, and he can come back to be the war chief.
Yeah, Cenarius is going to turn up probably just in time to die again.
Yeah, he dies. He doesn't. He must not. Death must not mean a lot to him because he goes in and out of the Shadowlands like they installed a revolving door or something.
Yeah, I think they covered that. It's because he's semi-divine or something like that. He can just kind of go in there and have a bit of a nap and then come back and he's all good.
Well, they never really explained what Elune was, did they?
Not really.
No, they're still tight-lipped on what she is.
It's something that can get it on with the stag, I guess.
I
don't want to know how a moose does things with the moon.
Moose moon.
There's a lot unexplained about that. But I guess, I mean, there's no morality in the World of Warcraft universe anymore. Everything's relative, so...
Yeah.
I mean, if
they're going to make... Yeah, they're going to make the but not that there's anything wrong with that argument for it, are they?
I mean, I can't really hate on them that bad. I mean, if you're a moon, you ain't got that many other sexual partners. Well, I mean, your natural partner's pretty hot, I hear, but you know,
oh, that's a dead joke.
Sometimes you just gotta do a moose.
Yeah. Boo, jeez. Okay, now the incredibly lame puns are starting to turn up. We should probably start wrapping up. Not to mention you're also talking about the mechanics of Moose and Moon.
Sometimes.
No.
You just need a moose in your life if you're a moon.
Blame Canada.
Blame Canada. Alright. Let's just pack up.
Finn is lamenting his inability to control us.
I've made several mistakes in my life.
I was chewing on my tongue for the whole last third of that wild discussion. You have no idea. Let me have my bad pun.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here before we say something we regret, or regret more at any rate.
Yes.
There are only 3 dark skin colors.
What?
Well, there's only 3 tribes of Darth, isn't there?
But
I think so.
But did you not scroll down the page I linked you?
No, I didn't even look at the channel.
Well, there are not any more. Darths can be any skin color they want.
I see.
Okay.
And it just looks weird.
What, they can be blue?
No, they can be any human skin color.
Okay, that's better. I thought they could before anyway. Roughly, anyway.
I mean, they had the wonky skin colors for the whatchamacallits, and then the ones on the mountain. Anyway, yeah. That's going to go somewhere that will get us in trouble real fast.
Well, get you in trouble.
But yeah, I think that's it. Closing comments, go.
BlizzCon is over, thank goodness.
I need an adult.
Also adults. Need those.
Yep. All right, folks.
Just yep.
That was the thing. Blizzard's a bunch of communists. All right, I think we're done. You can write us about BlizzCon if you want an email topic of the week. We'll see you next week. Sayonara, bye-bye.